Hi, welcome to the log cabin. My name's Ellie, and
I'm Hyrule. I was expecting you to say more. I keep messing up at this. I'm bad.
and it's okay. Little mess ups happen. And welcome to the Survivor Room, where we'll be talking Survivor. And today, Survivor 45.
Yeah,
We are a month late,
bit over, yeah. December 20th to January 28th.
but I think that helps
But
because we're not as engrossed in recency bias.
yeah, because I definitely had a bit of recency bias because I was like hard rooting for Emily, and then after that, the season kind of dipped a little bit. But now, after looking back at it, it's not that bad.
I felt the same way. It was like after I think by time of finale, once we got to the final three, and Julie had gone, and I realized Jake had no chance, I was like, no, I don't like the winner. No.
I was kind of at terms with it, but honestly, I don't care that much for them. They weren't my favorite.
So
Definitely deserved it.
I'll go ahead and say this for like the six people watching. We're gonna be doing spoilers all episode. If you have a problem with it, I would say go ahead and not watch this episode. Maybe eventually we can just rank the new era seasons, which that would have spoilers in it anyway.
Yeah. 45 is at my top anyway. My favorite New Era seasons of this one.
Yeah, probably. Second's 42 for sure.
Yeah. Maybe. That or 44. I love 44.
I didn't even finish 44 because I just found it so boring.
I really liked it. I don't know. Maybe it's just because of Carolyn, but
I do love Carolyn. So I guess
Carolyn's my favorite New Era player.
let's go over some overall thoughts on the season, I guess, before we get started going episode by episode and player by player.
Yeah. You can go first if you'd like.
One thing I do want to say is 90-minute episodes would definitely upgrade, and I'm glad production didn't include more twists than before. I'm
Yeah,
glad we only got
100%.
the journeys only a couple times, which I never had a problem with the journeys personally. But they definitely took up screen time that didn't need to be taken up.
Yeah, for sure. I think the 90-minute episodes definitely did help with the journeys because I thought the journeys happened a bit too much. But then after the 90 episodes, they only took up like a few minutes of the episode, and compared to 90 minutes, that's like not that much.
Plus, we only had three this season, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think we
Uh,
had one in the first two or three episodes, and
I think
then
the
maybe
first,
one last one before the merge.
I think the first or second episode, because Brandon.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure there was one in the premiere, and then Brandon went on his episode, and then I'm pretty sure the next one was on episode 4 or 5, and then the after that there weren't any more.
No, because there
I
was
don't
one
think,
in
at least.
right before the merge. That was the amulet one, and then there
Yeah,
was
I think that was episode
one Emily
5.
just went on alone.
Oh
Was
yeah,
that
that
5?
in episode 11. Yeah,
Yeah, and she got to do the puzzle I think they did earlier in the season.
yeah, they reused the puzzle from the premiere that they didn't solve, which I'm pretty
Yeah, because
sure was a little because they gave her 3 minutes, and I'm pretty sure Carson from 44 3D printed that puzzle, and it took him like 4 hours to solve. So,
yeah,
uh,
I it's hard to even consider that like a puzzle or challenge because I'm like, how is that even possible?
it's just so hard.
But I think that's the only thing I have with overall thoughts. I think this is the best season of the new era.
Yeah, me too. Because the 90 minutes definitely help, but I think they also way improved their editing. I feel like they were more balanced with the editing because the last few seasons, the winner got like way less screen time than others, or at least what felt like way less. Yam Yam not as much. I feel like Yam Yam got a decent amount, but like Gabler, Marianne, Erica, I mean,
They were
Marianne
like
kinda, but Erica
they,
especially.
they would either too hidden or too out there.
Yeah. I feel like Erica was way too hidden. Literally, like, a lot of people, myself included, just did not see her winning.
Right? And my only thing with D is that I think D's amount of screen time makes sense because I don't find her the most entertaining.
Yeah, I think she had a good amount of strategy and like personal, like screen time, but I didn't find her the most entertaining. I preferred players like Julie and Emily and stuff. Even like Katura and Jake. Jake was just a rootable person overall.
Right? I will say I kind of wonder if this is one of the weaker cast of the new era. I feel like almost on all of the new cast, every players had some likability to them, or at least to me had enjoyability to
Yeah,
them.
for the most part.
But I don't know,
Because
this
like,
definitely felt like the like just the adding up of getting all these just nice people Jeff would want to hang around with on an island to play
yeah,
Survivor. Since I think that's heard how
yeah,
I've heard that's how he cast it.
yeah. Which is like it's fine and all, but I do kind of miss like old casts where we'd have more villains and like snarky people. Because like I loved like people like Corinne and like stuff like that. Just like people that would be snarky or just like insult everybody. Like Courtney's one of my favorite players for that reason from China.
Right, and I don't know. This season still has authenticity to it, but
Hmm.
I don't know. It did feel more old school, which I
Yeah,
actually
it
really
definitely felt
liked.
more old school. Yeah, which I liked too. I liked how it kind of started felt. It felt like the first old school type season in a while. I think the last season that felt like that was maybe Winners at War in a way, if you want to call it that. But even before that, I'd say probably not even until you went back to like Cagayan or something.
Right, so that concludes our overall thoughts, I'd say. Do you have anything else before we get started with episode by
Not
episode?
that I can think of now, not really specifically.
We do have some fun moments to talk about.
Yeah.
Starting with our lovely premiere.
The premiere was a hot mess.
The perfect hot mess, I'd say. So we
Yeah.
start the so I'm going off memory here. Um, and Hyrule can definitely help me. They have the wiki
Mhm.
pulled up on their computer. Um, but we start the episode with a few confessions. We get main one I remember is Sifu being Sifu, which I
Yeah.
personally didn't like Sifu up until like the merge. But we can discuss that more at the merge episode, or like
Yeah. Sifu
when it's
wasn't really
small.
my favorite either.
We also get a nice confessional from Emily saying basically, "I came out here to win. I either want to be the first person out or win this game."
Yeah, which aged pretty well based
And
on
we
her narrative throughout the season.
and I like that this is her first confessional because it brings on her arc.
Yeah, it's a good way to start her story from the season.
Was there any other confessionals that people gave that
I
really were
think there was at
important?
least one more. I think Drew got the first confessional. I think he mentioned how he's like one of the smartest people to ever play Survivor.
That's right. Because later on in episode
Which
2, we get
like,
the two alter egos,
yeah, which
which
like
amounted to nothing.
as much as I don't like Drew, that is a pretty decent confessional just to show what his archetype was, because he's the gamebot nerd archetype. He was very arrogant. I didn't like him, but that gave a good direction into how that was gonna go.
Drew was always entertaining to me. I didn't agree with his game on multiple points,
Hmm.
but he was
He was
always
interesting, but
entertaining.
I just didn't like him.
So then
I
we go
could
on the
see him
boat,
returning.
and before I talk about the boat, I'm shocked Bruce didn't get a confessional actually before the boat
Yeah,
scene.
Bruce didn't get a confessional, but he did get a match shot, which makes sense.
Yeah, let's talk about chat real quick. So everyone gets on the boat. First, technically, Jeff says something to Sifu, and Sifu just does something.
Yeah,
But I think the
pretty
main
sure.
two three people we want to talk about is Brandon, Emily, and Bruce.
Yeah, the main three Matt chat people.
And I want to mention during the season, I kept up with Once Upon an Island very well with their podcast the whole time. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I watched them a lot.
And they were like, okay, we're hoping the Matt Chat theory dies here. And I think from the beginning was like, there's no way the Matt Chat theory is gonna even work this season anyway.
Yeah, I had a feeling it wasn't gonna be a thing this season, but who knew? Who knows? Because wasn't it a thing from like season 33 to 44,
I'm
like
pretty
like
sure.
11 seasons? Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
so
pretty
like it
sure.
it was like I wouldn't have been surprised even if it did continue.
But we get the first, yeah, first we hear from Brandon, and Brandon is just asked, kind of what he's feeling, right? Something like that, because he starts crying immediately.
Yeah, he starts
Because we get,
crying because it was his dream since he was like in like sixth grade, seventh grade to get on the show, like something like that. Like he was 12 when he started applying. I think he said.
oh my god, a 12-year-old
Yeah,
Element Survivor.
that would have been interesting. That actually does remind me slightly off topic. When I was younger, I literally asked my mom, why don't they have a Survivor Kids version?
They kind of
And
did.
that was
I can't
before I
remember
knew
what it's called.
Endurance.
Yes,
Yeah, Endurance. It was what
endurance.
Jonathan Young from 42 was on before.
Yes. So then we we get Brandon, and also some people dogged on Brandon for crying here and just how he is over the
Hmm.
season. I'm like, how about no?
Yeah. As much as I love Brandon, I will at least defend them when I say he was kind of a bad player.
He's not a great strategic player.
Or physical player at that.
Yeah. So then
And
we
that
move
ties
on
into something in a
to
minute.
yeah. Then we move on to Bruce. Jeff asked Bruce, I think just how's it feel to be back, and how do you feel everyone's gonna feel on you? He just gives a generic answer like people are either gonna be afraid of me or going to want to work with me, something like that, right?
I think it was something like that. I think he also mentioned how they shouldn't target him because he was only there for 12 hours or something and he didn't have that much experience.
Right, and I
And
rewatched the premiere of 44. I hate the way they treat his medevac.
yeah, that wasn't the greatest.
Like it's so weird that they have the zoomed in shot of the blood coming from his head after he hits his head on the bar.
Yeah. But that's just kind of them with like any injury. They like to focus on it. Like in 43, when Carla just decimated her finger, I'm pretty sure they pointed it out pretty clearly. But that at least tied into an immunity win, so that made sense. But like, there wasn't much reason other than the medevac being foreshadowed that that needed to be like a shot.
Anyway, so then we have Queen Emily just joining in, being like, he's already speaking with authority. We shouldn't be trusting him. Whether he played the actual game or not, he's more mentally prepared than we are.
Yeah, which like iconic then, especially since I'm not the biggest Bruce fan.
Right? And speaking of Emily, I have to mention the fact that, from what I know, she mainly applied because she saw that Gable 143 and was like, I want to
And she
be
literally said,
petty.
"I want to change that,"
Yeah. Which
which
Jeff is
like I
already
don't
trying
blame her
to
because after
do
Gabler
that.
won, I've never been more shocked over a winner.
I know, but I love it. I love the Gable win.
In hindsight, it's hilarious, but at the time, I was so salty. I'm pretty sure I ranked 43 as my least favorite New Era season because of it.
People still dog on 43 a lot, and it's like,
I don't
why?
hate it. It was a decent season. Like the Jesse storyline was really good. It's just like the winner made it so bitter for me.
Like, and we can talk about this on another podcast episode. Cassie wasn't that robbed. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, she's a bad player. No, she played okay, but she didn't play. Arguably, I don't know if she played better than Gabler.
I'd say there definitely were things. I feel like she was a bit more socially out there, and that could have been her case. But I do agree, honestly, with that. Like in terms of like threat level and stuff, Gabler did outperform her. It just was kind of funny seeing Gabler decimate her in a vote.
It is in their expression.
Yeah.
Anyway, we move on to the challenge, and challenges are gonna be hard to remember. So this first one was where you had one pair that went to like a crate and like threw stuff out of it, and you
Yeah,
had
it
to
was
put
like
it in
ropes and stuff, like heavy things.
and untie something, untie the paddles to your boat, I think. Then you went out,
I
went to
think.
your boat, grabbed something, and came back and went on a ladder. That ladder is gonna be very important.
Yeah, very important.
And then you just have a pole that is spiraling, so you have to knock the key around the spiraling pole, which I think is actually a that was due to, and same with the 44 pole they had where they had to throw the rings over due to what happened in 43.
I think so, yeah. They definitely wanted to change it because in 43 they just metagamed that. They made
Oh,
it so easy.
they hacked that challenge so hard, and I
Hmm.
love it.
Easy
Cody
way
was
to
like,
snag the win.
so
Good way to prevent it though.
the first part of the challenge isn't too remarkable. I think when I was first watching the premiere, I was like, didn't agree with the tribe strategies because it was like, I think both people, no, one person was in the thing throwing the things, someone else was moving it to the other place they had
I
to have
think
it.
so, yeah.
And like at the time, I was like, wouldn't you want both people throwing the things over the crate? And in hindsight, that probably
Yeah.
was stupid.
'Cause, yeah, I just checked the first pair also has to get the key.
Right? And I know for Lulu, the two who went to the Sweat v Savvy were the same two who did that first challenge, Caleb and Sabaya. Was it who did
Yeah.
that first
I,
part and on
I
Bello?
on Bella, I think it was Bruce and maybe Jake. I don't know.
Probably.
It
I was
was
just
Bruce
trying to
and someone. I
remember.
know Bruce did it.
I was trying to think if it was like the same pairing as in the challenge.
And I don't think it was because I know that like Brando and stuff went. I think Brando and uh Katura was it? I think it was Brando and no, it was Brando and Jake. Brando and Jake went to Sweat v Savvy. Pretty sure.
Which in a second we'll talk about that. That is definitely one
Yeah.
thing I don't like about the season. I don't like the Sweat v
Yeah.
Savvy how it, how they did it
Yeah.
this season.
They keep doing it. I don't like it. Like just do it. Just have a normal day one.
Like I'm fine with Sweat v Savvy, especially since we're in an era where like we aren't as focused on the survival aspect, but we still have some focus on it with them getting no materials and having to earn the materials. And
Yes.
I think it's a fair thing to have them, I guess, have a second chance, but it is kind of pointless.
And it's just kind of like it is nice that they're thinking of new ways to do it every season because they don't want it to like be expected. But like I do think that they are doing it a bit too much, just a little bit.
And that's just a problem with the new era in general, that we just keep doing the same things over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, and especially in a 26-day format, there's only so much you can do, really.
God, yeah. I remember
Well, they need to go
watching
back to 39 days.
I remember watching BB25 and I was like, Big Brother, you need to do the opposite of a survivor. You need to shorten your seasons.
Yeah, that was way too long. By week like 9, I was just like, when's it gonna end? Because we were in week 9 and it was still like final 9 or something like that. Or
But
maybe even
anyway,
not final 10. I think it was final 10 at week 9 actually, which is insane.
so we move on to the next part because that the first part doesn't matter. This is, no, what's important about this second part is we have Brandon. He's not the most
Yeah.
physically capable person.
Yeah. And like
And
I can't like blame him necessarily, but like it's kind of pathetic to watch. I'm not gonna lie, especially on a show like that where you see all these great physical players and then you just see that performance and it's kind of just like ugh, it's uncomfortable.
and like I also can slightly understand it it because he's on those rope ladders are not that easy to like climb.
Yeah, those aren't easy to climb, but it was still a little
But
like oh my god, he had to be like essentially carried up it. Like
so yeah, Brandon and Sean get to the ladder. Brandon struggles. Sean gets up first, and like for good like I would assume probably like in actual time like 5 minutes,
mhm.
maybe longer because those challenges probably last a while.
Yeah, I'm sure they last a while. It's just they're edited down to like 7, 12 minutes.
Yeah, but each pair has moved on, but then Brandon basically has to be pulled up. They're the last two to get to their mat. Brandon gets to the Lulu mat and just falls over.
Yeah, he just like collapses. He's just given up at that point.
And so then I can't remember who did the poll for Lulu.
I think it was I think it was
Probably
I
Emily
can't
and
remember. God.
Hannah at that
Yeah, I think it
point
was I think it
because they're
might have
the
been
last two
Emily and Hannah,
left.
but I'm not sure because I'm pretty sure Caleb and Sabaya did the
If they were allowed to do multiple
either of them.
parts, because I know they did the crate part.
Hmm.
So
But I don't know.
from how the show edits it, it looks like it's very close actually.
Yeah, I think I remember it being pretty close.
But Reba pulls out the win, which we're gonna see a lot this season.
Yeah, kind of just foreshadowing for how the season plays out.
Exactly. So then after that we get I think the announcement of Swipe versus Savvy, and Swipe versus Savvy isn't that important this season. It's not like it
Yeah,
gained much.
the only
Oh,
memorable
that's
thing about it is how hard the puzzle was.
that, and one thing that is important about it is that that helped um cement uh Sabaya and Caleb's relationship,
Yeah.
which would be important for pre-swap Lulu strategy actually.
Yeah, pre-swap Lulu was certainly an interesting dynamic to follow.
It didn't matter anything for Jake and Brando, I don't think, except I think Jake was like, I'm impressed by Brando.
Yeah.
And we get the normal like confessionals of people being proud of themselves, which makes sense.
Yeah. But we see that like every season, so that's nothing special really.
So then after that, before the immunity challenge, what I remember is that I don't remember anything from Bello or Reba really, because this was before Katera started hating Bruce.
Yeah.
We head to Lulu
It was
and we get to see these dynamics forming. I believe this is when the Sean, Sabaya, Caleb alliance is formed.
I think it is, yeah.
And we see Emily uh with the group. I know it's I think it's those three and Emily there. That they were talking about how the pyramids were made and they mentioned they were made by aliens and Emily's like the stupidity of these people.
Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure Emily was just like so like unimpressed by them. Like, like obviously when they mentioned alien theories, like, oh, get me off this beach.
Yeah, she like because her original storyline is we don't find this more until later in the episode before Tribal, where people were getting rubbed the wrong way by him, like just the whole time before the first vote,
Yeah, definitely because she's pessimistic too, or was at least.
which I find it a little insane that they wanted to vote her off before Brandon.
Yeah, but Hannah definitely did save her in a way that we'll get to a bit later.
Speaking of Hannah, she does have the important scene of first of all just sweeping the ground,
Yeah,
and her and Brandon get talking, and they start to bond over how tough the conditions are, and Hannah, being on having nicotine withdrawal. That's the word I was looking for,
hmm,
which will be important.
very important to the episode.
Did did anything happen on the other two tribes? Really?
It's possible, but honestly, I think most of the focus this episode was Lulu, just because of how much of a train wreck they were. I think maybe the only other possible scene that I can remember is maybe something to do with Bruce, but I don't remember Bruce getting that much like attention in the pre-merge.
I do remember actually, because Bruce had an important scene, and so did J Maya. J Maya is
Oh
more of a
yeah, right.
small thing with her noticing that the flag had symbols on it, and I think Austin finds the advantage in episode two, not episode three,
Yeah,
not episode one.
it was episode 2.
Then on Bello,
He finds it in episode 2, yeah. Or no,
Bruce.
day 2. He finds it in the premiere, yeah, just day 2. I'm thinking something else.
Oh,
I
okay. That
think.
probably isn't after till after the challenge though.
I think. I don't remember though.
And Bruce does have a scene as well where I think he's like, I don't want to be seen as the leader, so I'm gonna act like I'm crazy Uncle Bruce. Yet he somehow fails at
Yeah.
that and just tells everyone what to do.
Yeah, which definitely started to rub especially Katura the wrong way.
We'll find out until Bruce is gone that Katara does not like Bruce at all.
Yeah. Which it does bring me to the point. I do think that it is a little sad how they basically made Katura's entire edit just about Bruce, because the second Bruce left, she basically stopped getting any attention.
Right? Like she was a fun presence too. Like she wasn't the best game player, but she was a fun presence.
Yeah, like I enjoyed her. That one like tiny confessional where she just didn't say anything. I loved that so much. It was
And
like right after Bruce was being annoying.
I remember before Bruce, I think before we even merged, Katara sent a tweet on Twitter and was like, "My, I did not only complain about Bruce while I was out there. I don't know why I'm getting edited like that."
Oh my god. Yeah, I think I remember that too, which does kind of suck because I feel like she could have been way more enjoyable than she already was had they just not made her entire focus just about Bruce. But that's just me.
So I don't remember what the immunity challenge is at all. It probably doesn't matter
I can
anyway.
check real quick. It probably doesn't
Yeah,
matter, yeah, but I remember that it had like the slope
yeah.
with one tribe member most at a time must race up and over a ramp into a mud pit. Heavy bag of coconuts into a hanging basket, and then that'll knock like keys down. And then there's a vertical jigsaw puzzle depicting the season logo at the top.
Okay. The only thing about the immunity challenge that's important besides who loses is the fact that the A-frame they use. So like Survivor always has that A-frame where you can climb on one side, then you have to slide down the other. They for some reason at the top had barriers, making it harder to like get
Yeah,
over.
and another thing I noticed is that at the very beginning when Bruce started running up, they literally told him, "Watch your head." Like that
I
was
didn't
feral.
even notice that.
Yeah. And it was Jeff that said that too. Jeff literally yelled at him, "Watch your head," and then he literally had his hand over his head the whole time.
Oh my
And
god.
then I'm pretty sure the second he made it through, he started cheering for himself.
I don't blame him, man. But being bald is a disadvantage on Survivor.
Yeah. I mean, it's an advantage because your hair doesn't get in your face, but like, other than that, must be cold.
So I don't remember the placements. I think it was Reba, Bello, and then Lulu lost. The Lulu losers. We're gonna see that a lot until
Yeah.
this swap.
It was Bello, Reba, and then Lulu lost. Yeah.
Okay, that's right. So there's a couple important things to know after the challenge. We get the scene of Austin finding the Beware advantage, and he doesn't complete his task till the next episode, from what I remember.
Yeah, I don't. I think it was in episode 2 that he completed the task. That or episode 3, maybe.
Even though I don't know how I feel about Beware advantages this season. I like that the tasks were
Me
completely
neither.
different than they ever had been,
Yeah,
but
but I
like,
do think it would be also cool to just see a traditional idol in a way.
yeah. But I always liked the Beware advantages. Adding, I feel like it works better in a two tribe season,
Mm-hmm.
but I like having the risk getting the idol, especially if we're going to just have it in like the most obvious places now.
Yeah, because I like the beware advantages, but I like you said, I do think they would work better in a two-player season just for the pure fact of like if you lose your vote, that's only 5 votes on a tribe, and then because of journeys, it could go down to like 4 even, which we have seen. I'm pretty sure in like 42 when I think it was the Jenny vote off. I think there were 2 lost votes because I think
Yeah, that's
Mike lost his vote, and then I'm pretty sure
Mike and Chanel.
Daniel lost or Chanel. Yeah, Mike and Chanel.
So that's all that really happens on Reba, and we don't. This isn't the episode we get the Reba for. It's the next episode.
Uh huh.
So I can't remember anything from Bello either. Bello, poor Bello, got under edited
Yeah,
all
Bella was
season.
honestly the yeah. Bella was like the least important tribe this season.
We did. That's right. We did see the women form a alliance, but that didn't lead to much, sadly.
hmm
And
That kind of ended pretty quickly.
Kendra was a big proponent of that. And at the time, like before even merge hit, that kept her in the top half. Like I kept her
Yeah.
as like a winner contender because I was like, okay, she's willing to make an alliance early on, and right now, in this time in Survivor, that could be important.
Yeah, I think I remember thinking that she could have gone pretty far, and she kind of did, but I did obviously like that, not like that, like not like late game. She was still an early-ish merge boot.
And also, what happens is, I'm like 1,000,000% sure episode one is Katara putting all the heat on Jake for being public about him being a lawyer.
Oh yeah, that was either episode 1 or 2. I think it was in the premiere, but that scene was really good.
And not bad gameplay from Katara.
Yeah, she definitely handled that really smart, just like asking him questions about it, even though she'd already knew everything because she was also a lawyer. That was an interesting scene to watch.
What's so weird is that he was lying about the type of lawyer he was.
Yeah, because he said he was a prosecutor, but he's like a public defender or vice versa, something like that.
Yeah. Also, man, I hate
Yeah,
that we
because
had
if
three
you're gonna
lawyers on
lie
this
about what
season.
kind you are, yeah, we had 3 lawyers this season, which was a bit much, but
Like, I hated
kind of
during
just
the
an oh well.
quote unquote after show. Jeff is like, any other lawyers? And it's like, why do we need 3 lawyers? Ugh.
Yeah, like I'm sure that probably it's not like they like purposely casted 3 lawyers. I'm sure it probably was just probably it could have just been a coincidence, but I do think that it was a bit odd to have 3 lawyers, and their placements were back to back to back too, fifth, fourth, and third specifically.
Oh my god, it was. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But the most important part of episode 1 and something that made the community explode. When we're at camp, we see Hannah talking to I don't remember who. I think everyone. And like I want to leave the
It was.
game.
I think it was just Brandon, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I think so. And she was like, I want to quit the game.
Yeah, and I remember Brandon trying to like convince her not to because he was just like, I need you, and he did because that was like basically his only ally, really. But didn't end up going that well for him because obviously, as we saw later on, that kind of happened.
Yeah, I don't remember anything else except for Emily is target and was gonna be the first boot of the season. But we get tribal
Yeah, very
council.
likely, yeah, especially since we actually did get the unaired twist. I think they mentioned it on the podcast for that episode, where it's like Kendra got to visit Lulu camp and then cast an anonymous vote, and it apparently was, I think, gonna be on. I think it was apparently gonna be on Brandon, but I think Emily still would have been the boot.
Yeah, she voted for Brandon.
Yeah, so
Which
it probably would have been like 4-3, maybe,
which it
or like
says
five to
something
two.
about uh Kendra's winning chances, the fact that that vote wasn't even shown, that twist.
Hmm.
And it's a twist
Which I don't blame them because the quit definitely made that unnecessary to be shown.
oh for sure. And that's a twist I don't dislike because they've done it a few times before.
Yeah, that isn't the first time. I think it is the first time that that person's gotten to cast a vote, but it's not the first time that another person's gotten to spend a day at the other tribe's camp. And I would actually, I'm not opposed to like in 46 seeing that like actually happen because I doubt we'll have another day frequent, but it would be kind of nice to see that because we didn't get to see it this season. I feel like it could have made for some interesting strategy
No, they've
and
done it
social
before
talk.
where you can also cast a vote. It's normally like later in the game though, like late
Oh yeah, right.
pre-merge.
Like yeah.
But Jeff
I mean, I don't.
asks,
I think I just remember. I think I remember looking on the wiki and it just said that Kendra was the only one that got the cast of it. But I might just be remembering wrong.
that is on the Jeff podcast. I do remember that.
Yeah. But yeah, the and like it was definitely hard to watch, and you could tell Jeff was pissed, like very mad. The face he made when she said, "I don't need to be voted out to go home." Ugh.
Yes. Which out of the two quits, both suck. This one's at least a little better
Yeah.
because like the first few days.
Hmm. And like, I guess it makes a little bit more sense for Hannah because like we know, obviously she was having nicotine withdrawals, and that makes it a bit different. But like later on, the second quit, oh my God, that was even more painful to watch just because it was so random.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and talk about Hannah herself.
Yeah,
I started this
first boot of the
season.
season technically.
I kept thinking she looked like Abby Murray, and then was like, no, she looks more like Kelly Wentworth.
Yeah, I think I did see something in here. I think I did actually when I was making my predictions for the season because me and a friend did predictions like preseason. I think I did compare her to Abby, but I don't remember. And I think I did predict her sixth, which was the same placement Abby got on. I think I think it was
Second
Philippines
chance. Second chance.
or
Yeah.
yeah, it was Cambodia. Yeah, yeah, cause yeah, she got seventh on Philippines, I think.
And like I remember
But
preseason, everyone was hyping Hannah up because she was meant to be like, it's meant to be Tornado Hannah. We just didn't get that sadly.
yeah,
I would have loved to
yeah,
see that,
I
but
do feel like had she not had nicotine withdrawals and wasn't like an emotional mess on her first few days and didn't quit, I feel like she could have been an interesting character and like maybe possible merge player. But obviously, based on how Lulu went, we don't know that for sure.
yeah, I don't think she really makes marriage because her. It seems like her main ally was just Brandon. No, you had that
Yeah, and
clip of
I feel
3.
like, but then again, the target was either Brandon or Emily. I don't think Hannah was considered a target. So I feel like if she was a pre-merge brute, she probably would have at least made episode 3 at minimum,
Oh, probably.
which is a lot better than quitting on day 3. So
So we get to episode 2. This is, I believe,
episode
when
2.
Austin finds his advantage, or at least he
Yeah.
finishes the first part of his advantage, which is to match the symbols on the tribe flag with a note he gets. So basically, he's out in the open having to do this.
Yeah.
He successfully does it. Wow. Then he gets the second part of his advantage. I don't remember what that task was, but he finishes
I
it.
think it was, yeah, I think he had to smash the rock, but I think he does that on the next episode.
Oh, that's right. He had to smash the right rock. Yeah. And so I believe before the challenge we get the first journey of the season, which is Brandon, Drew, and Bruce.
Yeah, I think that was the first like actual journey.
Which th-
And I
it's a
still
fun
remember
one.
the scene of Brandon falling on the rocks.
That and so what the journey is this time is that they first meet up, of course, and get to talk a little bit, have some inter-tribe mingling, and Drew. So here's what happens. Brandon lets out almost all the information on his tribe.
Yeah,
Bruce
which is not a great move.
Then Bruce does the complete opposite.
Yeah, which is like honestly probably the smartest thing Bruce did the whole season.
Then Drew is in his confessional lambasting Bruce for this. Yet Drew does the same thing.
Yeah, which is a little hypocritical, which kind of is to show his character, but honestly,
That's
he
just
doesn't
Drew all
matter that
season.
much.
That's
Yeah, that's
just
just
Drew
Drew
all
all
season.
season.
So after they have this little deliberation, they get to each head out to different puzzles and get to choose um whether they want to do a puzzle and risk their vote for an advantage or not. The puzzle is just a simple lock combination puzzle we see a lot, and they're just given number tiles where they have to figure it out.
Yeah, they have to mash them up and stuff.
I believe we get like all 3 outcomes you can get in this scenario where Bruce decides not to risk it.
Yeah, Bruce plays it safe and doesn't risk it. Brandon goes for it and fails by missing one tile up, and then Drew does it and gets it successfully. So he won I think it was a safety without power,
Yes,
or
that's
like leave
right.
tribal. I think it was that.
Which he never uses all season.
Yeah, which is kind of sad. I would have liked to see that because the last time we saw it was Winners at War, and it
Which then
wasn't even
again,
used successfully then.
he
But
never. It was used successfully in Winners at War because it
well, I
basically
mean, it was,
saved
but
Jeremy.
I don't think he was the target that vote though. Unless I'm remembering wrong. I don't know. I need to rewatch Winners at War eventually. I haven't watched it since it premiered.
Yeah. So yeah, Drew gets the advantage, and Brendan has a confessional like, well, this looks bad on me. I've been telling my tribe I'm the puzzle guy, and guess what? I just failed a puzzle.
Yeah, and I still remember his quote right before doing it. If I can't do this, why don't I just get on a boat already and quit or something like that? And then he doesn't do it.
So then he gets back to camp, and he tell he tells his tribe, and Sean has a confessional. Like, you're supposed to be a puzzle guy, yet you couldn't complete a puzzle.
Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure to save his ass, I'm pretty sure that's when he starts looking for the Beware advantage, and then he finds it, but then gives it to Sabaya, which is like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Like, why? If you found it, just take it. You've lost your vote already anyway. Unless that was before, and I don't remember. But regardless, he should have taken it.
I
He's like,
mean,
no, I don't want it.
either way, it's better to go ahead and take it and risk it, especially when you are obviously
Yeah.
on the bottom.
Yeah, and you've been waiting to play this game for like what, 12 years, 13 years? and you just don't take a chance. Like, I'm sorry, Brandon, but oh my God, that when he did that, I was actually cringing.
One thing we forgot to mention in episode 1 was that so when they went to do Sweat versus Savvy, they obviously did it alone. It wasn't like normally where they just go out on the beach or something. No, they go to like
Hmm.
a separate area. A boat comes and gets
Yeah.
them, and they go to a separate area. Spire and Caleb went, and Emily is out here, like basically spreading both their names, being like they're getting an advantage. There's no way they're not getting an advantage.
Which, like, to be fair, I don't blame them because if a boat came to pick him up, I wouldn't trust it either now, especially in the new era. Which is why I think they need to change it up a bit because even with just the journeys, you just kind of expect it, and that's why they need to like change it up in some way. How they would do it, I don't know, but they need to make it so it's not as obvious, at least, that you're getting an advantage or something. Especially since with the like journey later with J. Maya, Kelly, and Austin, they literally they were just given it.
Which I cannot wait to talk about that journey. Was that pre-swap or post-swap?
It was pre. It was post swap. I mean,
So I'm
I
trying to
think it's in
remember.
episode 5.
So I think Drew, he tells Austin. By this point, Drew and Austin are close. They're JT and Steven of the season.
Yeah,
And I think later on in the season, Drew literally says this,
I think he does at some point. Yeah,
which is funny because I think he compares himself to Steven. Steven lost.
yeah. But I think they just meant it as in like JT's the social and physicality, which was Austin, and then Drew's the strategic, which was Steven.
Right. I don't remember how he covers it up. Um, if he he tells his whole tribe, I think.
I think
Because the whole
because
thing
that's
with
how it
Reba was
transcends into
that,
the Reba Force.
yeah. And with Bruce, I think he just lied and said he lost his vote. Or no, he told the truth and
Yeah,
said he didn't do it. I don't think people believed him.
I think especially Katura did not believe him.
That's the thing with journeys is that you can't, because this has been the thing since season 30, where you can't go out to do something and then say, "Oh, I didn't do it."
Yeah,
That's how you get so kimmed.
yeah.
Become the first boot of the season.
And just like I didn't try it, and then they were just gone.
So after that, from what I remember, we get to immunity. Doesn't matter what immunity actually was, because travel immunities don't matter anymore.
It was the one tile smash thing.
Oh yeah. Basically,
Then it had the
Lulu
like turtle
loses.
puzzle at the end, I think.
That total puzzle was cool.
Horrible, actually. The
But yeah,
turtle
Lulu
puzzle was cool, man.
lose. And this is after Sabaya gets her advantage. Not gets the advantage, but she opens the beware advantage. I believe. Or does she open
I
it in
think
episode
so.
3?
I think she opens it like right after she gets it.
So obviously she loses her vote because that was the beware advantage.
Yeah.
And what they have to do is that there's a vine on a tree that she has to pull to release the idol she is looking for.
Yeah, it's just that scene was so funny because it was right in front of her. We can see it so clearly, and she just does not see it.
None of them see it.
Who
I
knows
think
how long she was
Sean
there?
is
Yeah,
the
none
one
of
who
them
can
see it.
see
There was
it.
yeah, because weren't there like 4 people looking for it at once? 3?
I think so, yeah, because you had Sean, Caleb, and
Yeah.
Spire all looking for it.
Yeah, and for us, it was only like a 2-minute scene, but who knows how long they were looking for it? It could have been like 30 minutes, which is kind of sad.
And once they find it drops from the tree, and they find out That is an idol encased in wax that they have to burn off.
And they don't have Flint,
They've never had flint, so they don't have fire. Now this
which
isn't
is the
the
biggest punch in the face. It's almost as if they did it on purpose.
and this isn't the episode where they come up with a plan. That's next episode.
Yeah, next episode's when it really becomes important, but it's
but
still just a funny scene.
there's not much. Just Brandon's put it out in a I think 4-1.
I think it was 4-1, yeah. Let me check. Well, no, it was 3-0, yeah, because Brandon and the
Sabino
buyer lost their
votes.
vote. Yeah, so it was
And
just straight up unanimous.
one thing to mention before we move on talking about Brandon is that this is when Emily and Caleb become close. Because Caleb is like, I see Emily as the outsider. I want to take her under my wing and try to guide her.
Yeah, and then he says the famous words, "Oh, I want to turn her into a great player," which kind of backfires on him in a way, in a way, just
Yeah,
slightly.
let's talk about Brandon. I don't think there's not too much to say about Brandon, but I
I
love
liked him
him.
as a person, but as a player, he was.
Socially, he was
mm,
good. Like it seems like the whole tribe liked him.
for the most part, yeah. I think they liked him as a person, though. It's just obviously when you're in the tribal phase, especially so early, it's kind of hard to be like, you had a panic attack and flunked the first two challenges. I don't think we want to keep you.
Right, and I wonder if like in a two tribe season, that would be as much as a problem.
Yeah, in a two-trip season, I feel like he might have been fine, but because there's such little room to hide in a three-tribe format, it's just so like hard.
And like at the end of the podcast, we can talk about some over thoughts on the season and the new era in general. Like
Yeah.
how I'm getting tired of the three tribe format.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brandon goes 3-0. Fun character gone, sadly. It was fun to watch him, but we gotta move on.
Yeah, especially since that scene about him talking about his anxiety definitely hit close to home for me, so I appreciated that.
So, episode 3, before the immunity challenge, I'm pretty sure this is when we start. This is when we see Dee's big toe.
Yeah, which is great foreshadowing.
Great foreshadowing. By the way, speaking of foreshadowing, apparently the intro was always supposed to have foreshadowing in it. I never saw it in the intro.
I noticed it each time. I think there was literally only one episode that didn't have foreshadowing in it. I think that was maybe I think it might have been episode 3 that didn't have foreshadowing. But every episode had a little bit of foreshadowing in the intro, and on the wiki it mentions each one. Because
Which,
in episode 1, it was. Wait, no, yeah. Episode 1 didn't have the intro. Episode 2 foreshadowed the Beware advantage.
which I'm glad we got the intro back. The only thing I don't like is that it felt like they just did it to appease the fans because I don't like the fact that they didn't remove players as they went like they used to do in like the 20s.
Yeah, I missed that way of doing it.
Because even during when the merge hits, uh, all they do is just change the colors of everybody's names. They don't even remove like the pre-mergers.
Yeah, especially Hannah. I'm surprised they didn't even try to hide Hannah. 'Cause they were clearly upset with her.
I think we're gone from the days of Austin where they will actively dog on quitters.
Hmm. I think Mary, or whatever her name is from Micronesia, kind of started the trajectory of Jeff softening up on quitters and
Kathy.
stuff. Although Nicaragua definitely, he was very pissed with that.
So episode 3 is also when I'm pretty sure this is when we start to see the Dee and Julie relationship as well, which will come into
Yeah.
play. very later on.
Yeah. I think like episode 11 is when it's most prominent.
At the final five, not final five, final seven.
7.
I don't remember anything else from before the immunity challenge. Really.
There was a reward challenge which Lulu actually won,
That's right.
which
Lulu
was actually a
finally
little
gets a
surprising.
win. Lulu finally
Yeah.
gets a win.
And they had the right to raid one of the other tribe camp.
Okay, this is important. So, that's right. Caleb gets to raid the Reba camp, like this is Pearl Islands or something.
Yeah.
And a
Sandra stealing their tarp moment.
Johnny Fairplay being called a pissant by Andrew
I
Savage. I want to start
will
using
never
that
forget that.
in my regular daily life. Pissant.
Pissant.
But as soon as Caleb gets to Reba, I think Drew's the first person we get a confessional about it from. They all see him as a slimy salesman.
Which I don't blame them for. So,
I mean, he is a salesman.
yeah. And he does
Was he?
act like one. He has that, like, cocky attitude in a way that just, like, I'm great. Like, that kind of. Buy my stuff.
But he's not like Brian Heidick.
Yeah, he's not like Brian Heidick. Just, like, pure cold heart nobody.
Which I feel like this becomes more, not important, but more like a contrast to how he's perceived in the very next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, after that, I don't think there's really much because sadly Bello doesn't get much ever.
Yeah,
That's
Bello's
right.
just kind of not there.
There is one thing that's important is that we find out that Kelly and Brando are in the middle of original Bello.
Yeah. So is it then they kind of work together, or was it him and Kenja? Or am I thinking of post swap? I think I'm thinking of post swap.
Yeah, because him and Kelly did kind of work together since they were just automatically in the middle. And Kelly, wasn't a bad player like somebody else.
Oh yeah. Actually, not yeah. I don't think, but yeah, Brando and Kelly were in the middle. Yeah, because they had the girls on one side and the guys on the other, and then Brando could mingle with the girls well, and then Kelly could mingle with the guys well. So they just kind of naturally fell into the middle position because of that.
Which one reason I do want to mention that is because Brando in the very next episode.
Hmm.
But then we get an immunity challenge. Lulu loses again because we're talking about the Lulu losers.
Yeah. Which the editing in that challenge specifically, like the music they played right before they lost, I don't think they've ever done that before. They managed to make it like an actual like emotional moment.
Yes, they made sure like they don't normally do that ever. Like you don't look back at
Yeah.
Oolong or like Lose On or something. They make sure to make it emotional.
Yeah, which just shows that Lulu was genuinely just the main character of at least the pre-merge.
Oh, and like the whole season just shows how Emily was a main character the whole season.
Yeah. Even up until her final confessional when voting for the winner.
Yeah, where she votes wrong.
No, she voted correctly.
No, she voted Austin to win.
No, she voted D and said, "I swear if you spend a single penny on that boy, I'm flying down to Miami and taking the money from you single-handedly." Which is like probably my favorite voting confessional of all time, or one of at least.
That's also funny due to the cheating scandal that happened right after the season.
Yeah. May not have spent it on that boy, but might have spent it on a different boy.
What is it with Wendell and cheating?
Yeah, I don't get him either. Because didn't he cheat on Michelle too?
Yes, or like at least broke up with her.
Yeah, yeah. I remember him and Michelle had tension on Winners at War.
I love Michelle's confessional. That's like it's like I'm getting a text that's, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, "New season, who it is?"
Yeah,
Michelle is such an underrated
good for her though.
confessionalist. She's such an
Yeah, I
underrated
like Michelle.
confessionalist.
Yeah, she's a
So,
really good confessionalist.
so we get to the immunity jump. Well, no, we already did immunity. We get about the camp, and
And this is when it
Sabaya.
all starts.
This vote is messy, capital M messy. Sabaya immediately is targeting one of her allies in Caleb
Yeah.
on a tribe
And
of
that's when Emily
four.
has the choice. Yeah, on a tribe of four too, which is like insane. But
Because
she
like
says it to the wrong person, and Emily runs to Caleb.
yeah, because literally you have this easy boot in Emily, kinda easy at least.
Yeah, it kind even Sean could have been easy, really. Like Sabaya and Caleb were the top dogs of Lulu.
And then they end up in
So
a feud
even
in
yeah,
Sabaya's last moment.
yeah, it's kind of funny how quickly things can change just from like one little conversation.
So yeah, Emily goes and rats it to Caleb, and Caleb basically is like, "Let's vote Sabaya." And I think this is after the Alliance of Three talks about a plan of what Sabaya is going to do is that with the wax idol, she's going to put it in the Fire Tribal Council and melt
Yeah,
it there.
which like thinking outside the box is nice, but
I love it. That should have just
yeah.
been a condition in the first place, since especially since Survivor wants it to be like public or to be more of a
Hmm.
risk, like with the Austin one or like the Birdcage last season.
Yeah. The birdcage was actually kind of fun though. I enjoyed it, especially when Carolyn found it. I don't think I've ever been more nervous over Survivor.
So
Besides maybe Marion.
I don't think there's not much else that happens at camp. So we get to tribal. Sabaya comes in with this big ass stick
Yeah.
and then tosses her idol in the fire. And Jeff asks about it, be like, "What's that for?" She
Yeah, even
basically
Jeff's like, what the hell?
explains the plan because I remember originally. Okay, so originally Emily was slightly on Sabaya's side to vote Caleb, but
Yeah, and then she decided it wasn't best for her game, which it definitely wasn't, because I feel like Emily could have been next had
right
there not been a
and
swap.
it was at camp that Sabaya told Emily about the idol because Emily was gonna find out anyway.
Hmm.
But at tribal, Jeff asks about this. She explains, and we get the normal deliberation with Sabaya keeping on checking on the idol.
Yeah, just like every like 5 minutes, just like pushing out the stick, making sure it's fully melted.
Then she takes it out. I'm glad someone poured water on it because I was scared she's gonna grab like just this hot metal.
Yeah, I was like, how is she gonna pick it up?
No, Sean pours this canteen on it.
Yeah. And even then, I think she still lets it sit for a minute because it's still probably hot.
Yeah, and originally I didn't real I somehow my dumb self didn't think it'd be made out be encased in metal.
I didn't either. I was just like, the idol's gonna burn.
they just they just make them do this and they burn the idol.
Yeah, like, oh, my idol's on fire, but I'm playing it anyway.
But yeah, Spy gets it, then we move on to the voting. This is when we find out how idols work for the season. Which I don't think is terrible, but it's not the best either. They
Hmm.
already have to do a lot to get the idol. Why make it to where they have to sacrifice their vote basically at each stage of the game for it to be able to make it farther in the game.
Yeah,
So I believe
because like, because I don't like that either. Like, it's a nice like risk thing and all, but like I just like you need to vote. Like they already take away their votes a lot anyway.
and they add an advantage this season to replace your vote.
Yeah,
Which, so yeah, back at Tribe Raid, um, Caleb gets the goodwill advantage and has to give it to another player, and he gives it to Drew, which the goodwill advantage makes it to where you can recover your vote after losing it.
hmm
That'll be important, like at merge. So Sabaya gets idle, and you have to risk your vote. You have to lose your vote for the last 2 rounds. Risk it again for the last merge, and risk it again for the last sort of final 5, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was because if you didn't risk it the first time, it would just be at that tribal council, and then it would. But if you risked it, it'd be until the merge, and then if you did it at the merge, it would just go to final five, which is how Austin got it to final five.
And she was so confident that she was saying she loses her vote and tries to make it last.
Yeah. Which is like, ugh, like she was definitely robbed a little bit, but like, oh my god, why would you do that?
We get to the vote count. 2 votes Sabaya, 1 vote Sean.
No, it's one vote Caleb actually.
1 vote Caleb, that's right.
Yeah.
Sean. Sabaya's face, the shock.
Yeah, the way her jaw dropped. That was honestly probably the best blind side of the season, though, I'm not gonna lie.
I still love Kelly's reaction
She
now.
was. Yeah, what the hell, guys? That was a good one too. But Sabaya's was just so like clever.
What's shocking to me is that she didn't even just need to play her idol. She could have just tied the vote.
Yeah, literally.
Because at that point, you have 2 people voting. If we're deadlocked again, I would imagine it goes to like fire.
I think if it deadlocks again, it could go to fire because of like the amount of people left. But honestly, I don't. I could have also seen it going to rocks, which would just been a 50-50 thing, which would have been kind of funny.
Wait,
Which it is. It does bring me to the thing. I actually would weirdly like to see a rock draw happen again. I don't know why.
Let's talk about Sabai.
Sabaya.
So
I
far,
do
of the
hope she
Lulu
returns.
losers, out of the 3 Lulu losers we've talked about so far, I think she's the best player, but I ain't saying much.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's like really no question. Out of the first 3 Lulu loser boots, she's definitely the best one by far.
And maybe the best player out of the whole pre-merge.
Possibly, yeah. She was definitely the best pre-merger. Like no doubt.
And we get the
And probably
episode
just pre-jury in general.
Yeah. Yeah. So we get to episode 4. It's time for the tribe swap.
Which is our first official one in quite a while.
The only weird thing is that it was swapping back still 3 tribes. Which
I feel like it should have just swapped the 2. Yeah.
And then like put
like,
someone on exile.
Yeah, like I would have liked that. Like I did that in my org. Like I had someone go to exile because I wanted an even tribe swap, but like they didn't do that. And it's just back to 3 tribes of 3 or of 5, I mean, which is like kind of just pointless.
At least it was still interesting. Cause so
Yeah, especially since one Lulu member went to each tribe.
Yeah, so out of the 3 Lulu people, 1 went to each tribe. On Rainbow, we have Julie, Dee, Jay, and Sifu with Sean.
Sifu. Yeah.
Then on Lulu we have Caleb, Bruce, Jake,
Kendra and Kelly.
Kendra Kelly. Yeah, no, Kendra was on
Oh
Bello.
wait, yeah, no. I meant Katura. I
Katura.
confused their name.
We have 3Ks on one try, man.
Yeah.
Then on Bello, probably
And
the
they're
most interesting one, we have Austin, Drew, Kendra, Brando, and Emily.
yeah, which that was definitely my favorite tribe from the swap just because of the dynamics.
So for once, we do have something important to talk about before the immunity, mainly the fact that once Lulu gets to their tribe camp, Bruce breaks down because that is the original Tika camp he was evacuated from.
Yeah.
Which is a good moment to see. I think Jake is there right with him, and he immediately, and I think Caleb does something to build trust with Bruce as well.
Yeah. Well, that does bring me to the point. I do wish they'd even if they are gonna stay in Fiji, I wish they would go to like some slightly new areas because obviously them reusing the same. I'm pretty sure they've been reusing the same beaches since literally just since Millennials versus Gen X, which is a
At
little
least since
boring using the same
41.
three places each season, but
But I feel like it is at least
but I don't know.
interesting when you have a attorney and they can be like, "Oh, this is the original camp I was on when I first played."
Yeah, but
But yeah,
obviously that doesn't happen often because it probably won't even happen again until the next All Star season, whenever that happens. Because even on like Winners at War, only a few of the winners on that were actually from the Fiji era.
so nothing of significance happens on Reba yet, but on Bello, what's important to note is that so we have two from each tribe. We have two from Bello, two from Reba, and one from Lulu. It's not that simple though. Austin and Drew basically have an advantage because Brandon and Kendra, they barely get screen time during the swap, which sucks.
Yeah.
But they didn't really work together on the original Bello.
Yeah, they weren't really because they were a part of like opposite alliances, like not like opposite, like they weren't against each other like specifically, but they were definitely on like opposite sides of this tribe, so they didn't really work together much. Because Brando was definitely closer to Kelly than Kendra.
And I feel like type personalities Austin and Drew have are more consistent with what Emily likes to go with,
Hmm.
which obviously is the swing here.
Yeah, Ellie, not Ellie, and Emily was a great confused in that era. But yeah, Emily was a great swing vote there, which was good for her because after being swapped, I was hoping that they wouldn't just gang up on her for being the only minority, but they obviously both tried to bring her in.
It seemed like they didn't do that on any of the third tribes.
Yeah, which is good.
So if we get to the immunity challenge, it's a thing where you have to bring a cage up to the shore and put it in a specific sand pit and dig for balls, I think. And then you can shoot those balls while inside the cage into a basket. And whichever tribe gets a certain amount of balls in the basket by the end wins.
Yeah, which I actually did like that challenge. I think it wasn't new, but it's fairly new. The last time they did it was, or the first time they did it was only in Island of Idols.
I do find it an interesting one. And one important thing to know is that Julie and Sifu carried Reba.
Yeah.
Which I love that Julie, this 50-year-old woman, carried the tribe.
Yeah. They did end up not winning that challenge though anyway, which it was mostly just because they couldn't make a shot.
Part of that was probably because they had Sifu. Did Sifu make any shots?
I think Sifu was the shooter, yeah.
Which I was watching him like, why have him be the shooter? He is the shortest guy in the tribe. He's the
Yeah.
shortest person in the whole season, I think.
I actually don't remember. I
I'm
didn't
like
really
pretty
pay
sure.
attention to their heights.
I do, mainly when Jeff is snuffing their torches, because it's funny to see when someone's smaller than Jeff or like way bigger than Jeff.
Yeah, like Drew towered over him.
But Lily gets first, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Lulu finishes first.
Which good on Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb very much so carried that. I think
And
he only missed like once.
yeah. And Bello gets second. What's important to note about that too is that we don't focus on the tribe who loses. We focused on Bello and Emily's reaction to winning.
Yeah, which actually was an interesting sign on her character because usually they only do that if that person's like very important.
Right.
So that was a good hint.
So yeah,
And I
Reba
guess it
loses.
tied into the Edgic too.
Yeah. Reba loses and has to go to tribal council. And they don't. So everyone seems to like Sean. Keep this in mind. Everyone likes Sean. And they actually want to keep Sean.
Yeah, which I was very surprised about because I was obviously he was like literally the only foreign member on that tribe.
And I believe this vote. So J Maya is targeting Sifu. And has no
Yeah.
idea she's on chopping block. I'm pretty sure she was like the main target going in, but she was like talking to the ladies and was like, we need to get Sifu out, all of that.
Yeah, I think it was between Sifu and her.
So we get the tribal council. Sean quits.
Yeah. Which was the most shocking because he seemed emotionally stable, and then as soon as they started talking, he's just like, "I miss my husband," and then he just leaves.
Right? And I think I heard that afterwards he was actually really regretful to quit. What sucks is that
Yeah.
actually liked Sean.
I didn't care for him that much.
He was an interesting presence to me. Now
Yeah, fair enough.
what's different about the Hannah quit compared to this one is that Hannah quit, I think they did that thing where it's like the same thing they did for like Austin, where they do that impromptu tribal council where you just point and say who you're voting for. But this one
Yeah.
still had a regular vote.
Yeah, that's actually why on the wiki it's considered an unofficial quit, but I consider it a literal quit just because of like how bad he wanted to go. And it was
Right.
at tribal too, so like
And so I don't remember who. So that's right. Did Sean vote here?
yeah.
Who did he vote? He didn't vote Sifu.
He voted for D.
Okay. The one vote D would get all game until the finale. Right?
Didn't D get another vote at final like I think D got another vote at final five, but I don't remember.
That's right, because Jake was trying to get D out.
Yeah.
But what's shocking is that
Is-
our winner, keep in mind, this is the person who wins the season, doesn't vote Sean. I think, does she do it to cause paranoia?
No, she voted for Sifu actually because I think she was like, I don't care about how you feel. I want to play the game.
Right. And this leads to like a great moment when Sean is walking off. Because Sean hugs Sifu after, getting announced that he's going. Says, I didn't vote you.
Yeah,
He basically
which
throws
is
V
great.
under the bus. And before that is when Sifu's like, who voted Sifu?
Yeah, which like I still just genuinely think that that was just a great moment, like tribal, just for the tribe dynamics, because that made it a lot more interesting. Because it could have just been very boring after that, but that made it stay interesting until the actual departure of Sifu later on.
And this after this is when Sifu starts to get more screen time and he starts getting more strategic.
Yeah,
And I kind of wish he made it a little farther, or at least he was on the jury. Because I would want to see more Sifu after that, after I started seeing him actually strategize and stuff.
yeah, fair enough. I just thought Sifu was a little annoying. That was me. Not as much as like Bruce. Bruce was my least favorite, but
So there's not much to say about Sean. Early he quit.
yeah,
Before
he
he quit,
quit and he
I
wasn't the most active, so
I kind of liked him. He was a good presence, but
yeah. I liked him as a person, but he didn't really get that much like game related screen time, so
right. And it seemed like on Lulu he was just the third to Caleb and Sabaya.
yeah, he was definitely a third wheel in that alliance.
Episode 5.
Episode 5. I don't want to be the worm. Interesting name.
I don't believe there's anything before the challenge that's of note besides Sifu going on like a investigation
Yeah.
on who voted him. And I believe
Yeah.
that this is
Which
the scene where he tries to convince Jay Meyer to sing with him.
yeah. Which they actually did post season. I remember when the season ended, they sent a clip of them singing together,
Right?
which was definitely a good moment.
Then when we get to challenge, I don't remember what challenge was. It kind of doesn't matter.
It was like the one where it's like a three-story optical like maze course thing, and then like after that there's like slingshots.
Okay, yeah, that one was actually cool.
Yeah, I like that challenge.
I like when they do the vertical mazes.
Same.
But this time Bella loses, which sucks. And we
Yeah.
we get some terrible gameplay from Drew.
Yeah, Drew's gameplay this episode was not great.
So they get back to camp, and Brando is like, okay, I am like 1,000,000% sure I am not safe here. So he starts trying to become allies with Drew. He's like, okay, me and Drew are
Yeah.
nerds. We might be able to bond over some nerdy stuff. So I think they're talking about Pokemon in camp.
Which like good because I love Pokemon. I loved that scene.
And it was here when Brando mentions wanting to align with him, I believe, or it was in private. I can't remember.
I think it might have been in private, but I don't remember.
Probably. And Drew just declines it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Whether this person's about to go or not, that's a dumb idea.
Yeah, like I didn't understand the gameplay in that episode. It's even confusing now to talk about. It's like why they made decisions they did.
Right, and I believe Emily kind of thought about turning on Austin and Drew. Like, just thought about it, but
I
never.
think.
And sadly,
It's
Kendra.
actually weird to think about how much differently the season would have gone had she done that.
Right. And Kendra gets like no screen time here, I think.
Yeah, Kendra's basically invisible this episode.
So not much else to say. We get the tribal. It's a 3-2 vote. No, no, it would. What was it? I'm trying to think because Austin may have had to sacrifice his vote to make his idol last longer.
I think.
Because I believe it was the Kelly blindside when they used a goodwill advantage.
Wait, no. It was this episode. Yeah, uh, I think he reinstated his vote with the advantage. Yeah. Oh yeah. I just checked. It said voting against Brando, holding up idol. This is my idol. I'm gonna extend it in order to extend the lifespan, but I'm mostly gonna restore my vote with the goodwill advantage.
Which I'm shocked that's allowed.
Yeah, which I'm a little shocked it's allowed as well. I'm surprised it's allowed, but
But
I
Brando
personally wouldn't allow
goes.
it. Yeah, Brando goes 3-2 here.
And Kendra, poor Kendra, was shocked.
Yeah, poor Kendra is just like upset about it. Which
And
I
it's
don't
not,
blame her. That was like her only ally on that tribe besides Emily.
and there's not much to say about Brando. The only main thing I remember is that scene with Drew and him wearing the buff around his chest. Which I loved
Yeah,
seeing
same.
because I've done that before.
I haven't. I don't know if I want to risk ripping it. It probably won't, but like, it's not like my chest is wide. But I haven't tried that yet.
And then we get to episode 6. I hate the Mergatory so much.
I hate it. Like, why can't we just have a normal merge? Like, I don't care if the first merge boot isn't a juror. I just don't like mergatory. It's just unnecessary in my eyes. And it robs a lot of people. Like Lydia, for example. I love Lydia, but she never made merge because of it.
And Sydney.
Yeah, and Sydney.
So the challenge happens. I think it's a different one from what they normally do for the
I
Mergatory.
think so. Yeah, I think it was different.
But who wasn't picked to be in, I think Katura wasn't picked to be in either group. So she has the bet
Yeah, it was
and
Katura.
and she bets on the right group. And
Yeah,
then
she does. I think she picked the blue team.
I believe what I do remember is Emily, Caleb, and Jeremiah were 3 of the people who weren't on this safe group.
Yeah.
Maybe Drew or Austin. I can't remember.
The non-safe group was D, Emily, J, Maya, Jake, Caleb, and Kelly.
Okay. So we get the camp. We get this. Everybody turns on Caleb immediately.
Yeah, which is like a little surprising because he was in such a good position beforehand, but at the same time, when it's about to be merged, I don't blame them.
That and the Rebas somehow got like a bunch of power out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think it's mainly because they all came back together, but like, and they were like full tribe, only full tribe, so they had numbers, and then they were also pretty good, like with each other socially. So.
And one thing we see, this is the second time we've technically seen it this season. We see it a couple more times during the season. Is a theme of if you should tell people if your ally or if you are getting blindsided.
Yeah.
I believe Emily does tell Caleb, but does still vote Caleb.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Emily tells Caleb and still votes Caleb. I think mostly just to not like be on the outs with everyone else. Because I feel like if she didn't vote Caleb, I feel like she could have been an easy next target.
Oh, for sure. Now, here's where things get interesting. We get the tribal council. We get our deliberation. It's phenomenal. People vote. Caleb uses shot in the dark.
And then he says the famous quote, "If this works, I'll buy a lottery ticket after I get home."
And I believe is this the episode title that's named I'm Not Batman, I'm Canadian? Or is that the next
Yeah, I'm not
episode?
Batman. I'm the Canadian.
And it works. He negates the most votes in Survivor history with 11.
Yeah, which is insane.
And it's technically the only really successful shot in the dark.
Yeah, I think it's the because there were two successful ones with like Jamie, because obviously hers was successful, but his was the only one to negate votes.
It does kind of suck that the new record had to be set by a shot in the dark, but it's still pretty cool. I love seeing all the
Yeah.
reactions. Everybody
Yeah, especially
freaking
Caleb just jumps out of his
out.
chair.
And then poor J Maya. She
Yeah.
You can tell she's done for.
Yeah. The second it's read as safe, she doesn't even get up and react with him. She just kind of sits there like, oh God.
And then on the revote, not everyone voted J Maya. I think it was J Maya and
Yeah.
Jake who were the targets.
No, it was J Maya and Emily. J Maya was trying to push Emily. J Maya was the only person to vote for Emily. Everyone else voted J Maya.
Then poor J Maya, it gets voted out.
Yeah. 10-1. Insane.
I guess it makes sense we lose like probably the least interesting person at the merge. In J Maya, I really don't have much to say about her. Like, can you think of anything?
Not really. Other than her like confessional about like the tribe flag on like the premiere, I don't really think she was that special, to be honest.
Yeah.
That brings us to episode 6 or 7. Yes, 7.
Where we get the split tribal thing. Which wouldn't be as much as a problem if we don't have the frickin' mergatory.
Yeah. Because like I think that they always find ways to prevent the votes in the merge from being normal. I don't know why. Like that's just a new era thing. Because we get mergatory and then we're immediately thrown into split tribal, and then I'm pretty sure immediately after that is when, because it's a double boot, and then I'm pretty sure after that it goes into like the 3-person like weird like immunity group thing, which is another small complaint about the new era I have. Is just they prevent the merge boots from being regular.
I feel like it's multiple things. Obviously, like producers have said themselves, they're trying to make the new era fun and risky and more dangerous. But I also feel like part of it is that Jeff doesn't want to see more winners that are like Michelle.
Probably, yeah.
He wants these dominant players to win, which is probably why we have so many smaller tribes all the time. and the "you can't hide in the tribe of six" thing.
Yeah. You just can't hide in a tribe of six at all.
Even
Like
though
just give us like two tribes of nine or something.
it is funny that two of the five winners are under the radar of the new era.
Yeah.
Maybe
We got
Phoebe
Erica
Coon and
and then we
Marion
got Gabler.
Gabler, the alligator.
Yeah.
So I believe this is the first time we see Bruce win immunity.
No, we didn't see him win immunity until next episode. This is when Dee and Kelly won immunity.
D's big toe.
Dee's big toe.
And I'm trying to remember like if anything else really important happened before Tribal. This isn't this isn't an episode when they win the family letters. I think that's like an
Yeah, I think
episode or
Family
two
Family
later.
Letters was in Final Eight, I think. Or was it Final Seven? I don't remember. I think it might have been Final Eight or Seven. But I don't know. That we'll get to that whenever that happens.
So one group has a majority Reba plus Sifu, and the other group has doesn't really matter. It has Caleb.
Yeah, the two group, I think, because Red was Austin D, Jake, Julie, Caleb, and Katura, and then Blue was Bruce, Drew, Emily, Kelly, Kendra, and Sifu.
So on the red group, I don't think much happened. Caleb tried to fight a fight, but it didn't work, sadly. Caleb gets booted,
Yeah,
even though they aren't the first group to go. The first group to go was,
Blue.
yes. And the red group got to saw Blue's tribal council, I believe.
Red, I actually don't think Red immediately. I think they did it differently. Red not only didn't get to watch, but I don't think Sifu immediate because Sifu was pre-jury, so he just left. They didn't even see who left until they got back to camp. So
Right, so yeah, Sifu goes. It sucks that he's pretty Jerry.
yeah.
I think he would have been a fun Jerry member.
Oh, he would have. Yeah.
Then on the other team, Caleb goes, obviously. Caleb doesn't have a way to save himself
hmm
now with no shot in the dark. So, bye bye,
That's when we got
Caleb.
our first flash forward too.
Our first what?
Because normally we get flashbacks, but we actually got when Jake was talking about like who to vote. He said his plan, and they literally flashed forward to show tribal and like what they would vote.
I forgot about that. That was so weird.
Yeah, it was weird, but I liked it. It was cool.
Caleb, great character. Not the best player, but and a good player at least.
He was a good social player, though. I enjoyed his presence. I think he should come back.
He probably will.
I feel like pretty much. Uh, I think Sabaya, Emily, and Caleb will all come back eventually.
Well, I'm pretty sure they. I like at the end of Emily's episode, they basically confirm it.
Yeah.
So we're at final 10 at this weird immunity challenge.
Yeah. I think it did. Yeah.
Wait, was that not final 9?
That was final 11, 12 hour. No, it was 12 because there were six on each.
No, I'm
And
talking
then
about the weird immunity challenge where they're in three groups of 3.
oh, that was final 9.
So final 10, I can't remember what. I can barely remember what happens at final 10.
Final 10 was auction.
That's right. So we get auction back, and we start the auction before we even get to the challenge area, where each person has to go out and they get a limited amount of time to go out in the woods, and they get to find a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
At
Which
first,
Bruce did not try. Bruce got $80 because he barely looked.
people kept stealing it from around him.
Yeah, he'd just be walking around. They just snatch it from right under his nose and be like, "Where'd that come from?" And then meanwhile, D has 900.
And I kind of like that, like the way this was done, even though I wish they just like started with like $100, then they could like find more money. But I still liked
Mm-hmm.
it either way. I found it very interesting.
Yeah. And I do think it was a little odd how it's like if you had the most left at the end of the auction, like it's a good way to get people to not hold off on their money, especially since obviously the randomized twist where it would be between 6 and 15 items. But like, so you wouldn't know when it would end. But I do think it was a bit odd that if you had the most money at the end of the auction, you just lose your vote.
Yeah, so we get to
Which
the
like
auction.
like they did that to prevent idols like or advantage hoarding, but like even then, I just think it's a bit odd.
So yeah, we get to the auction after like 10 years of not having it.
8.
A, I'm I'm existing anyway. And
I don't blame you. I just know a bunch of random. So
Jeff first starts it off saying there are no advantages or idols for sale during this auction. I believe that is like one of the first
yeah,
things he says. And then we get the twist of whoever has the most money by the end will lose their vote. Ah, of course we have the new era of this auction, don't we?
yeah. At least it wasn't too overwhelmingly new era with this one, but it was still kind of just like I wish it was a bit classic.
And then we also get the twist, which I'm fine with this twist, where it's like it ends randomly. Even though only thing I hate
Yeah,
about it is
that
that
one I'm
how they
fine with.
I don't like how they edited it, how they always had to make it suspenseful on when it ended.
Yeah, I wish that at least we knew.
Like the point of the auction is meant to be this fun part, this fun reward challenge they get.
Yeah.
So like the main thing I remember from it was the fish eyes.
Yeah. I remember the fisheye, the $900 milkshake, and Emily's dance.
That's right. So with the fish eyes, each auction has a mystery item that is bad, and this one was fish eyes. I think Katara got it originally.
I think so, and then Austin offered to try it, I think.
Yeah, Katara's like, I'm good, thanks, and Austin's like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I don't remember if he buys it from Jeff or
Yeah, he
takes
buys
it.
it. Katura refused it. Katura paid all $480 for it and then refused it, so went back up for bid and Austin bid 100 on it just to try it out.
And I believe by the end of the auction, Bruce is the one who loses his phone,
Yeah. Yeah,
which is
Bruce
funny.
didn't buy a single thing.
It's not likely he had the money to.
Yeah, not only he didn't have the money to, so I don't blame him, but he didn't buy anything and lost his vote because of it.
Right, which does add a great conclusion to him not finding anything during the finding money portion.
Yeah. Can't really can't really complain if you're the one that did it to yourself. So kind of just
And
stood there and let everyone else take it.
so I don't. Who won immunity at Final 10?
Bruce.
Bruce, yeah, I thought so, because I think he wins 3 immunities in a row,
Too.
too. So, Bruce wins immunity, and then we get the camera. So, first of all, what's important is that Bruce has the idol from Bello, That's
Yeah.
important. And Austin has idol from Reba, and there's no idol from Lulu.
Yeah. And this is when Callie realizes that people are probably getting because Bruce was the target, I'm pretty sure, but then obviously Bruce won immunity, so Kelly just kind of figured, oh, everyone's gonna go after me because they're gonna see me as close to Bruce, which is kind of what happened. But she kind of tried to like get the others to not do that and vote the outsider and Jake. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, the Bello the three Bello women all voted for Jake.
Right, and like, um, Jake was just a perennial pawn all season.
Yeah. It also didn't help that Jake used his shot in the dark this episode and wasn't safe, but he didn't even go anyway.
Right, and also we hear from Kelly about in a confessional about how she doesn't actually like Bruce, but Bruce's confessions of saying Kelly's my closest ally. I see her as like a daughter.
Yeah.
But the Reba floor pull a fast one. They loop in Emily into the Kelly blind side.
Yeah, which is still, honestly like second best blind side of the season, like I mentioned earlier.
So that's 5 votes. I think Jake was looped. Was Jake looped in on it? Oh wait, he didn't have a vote, so it doesn't matter.
Jake didn't know because even when Kelly went, even Jake was like, "Whoa!"
That's alright. Bruce didn't have
He was like,
votes.
"Whoa!" Sorry, whoa.
So it was a 5-3 vote because Bruce and Jake didn't have votes.
Yes,
And I think Kelly was a very good character on the season. She was always
I
fun to
agree. Yeah,
watch. She was very good in confessionals. She wasn't a bad player either. Like maybe the best player from the Bella tribe.
yeah, I'd agree and say she was probably one of the better Bello players, if not the best.
Was kind of robbed, honestly.
Yeah, I hope she can come back eventually.
Like, and talking about Bella, best Bella players, Jake has the mind, but he has the same problem I do, where he just can't execute.
Yeah, which is it's always unfortunate watching stuff like that where it's like you try so, like root so desperately for someone to make that move that they want to make and then they always just fall short slightly and it's just like it's sad,
It's
but
the
it
same
makes you
thing.
want to root for them more.
It's the same thing I can imagine people feeling for me in Oryx. It's like, oh, they're trying their best.
I mean, you do try your best though, so
Yeah, and then get rocked. So
sadly that's just how it goes sometimes.
when next episode, obviously Bruce is the target after that, and I think he knows it.
Yeah,
So we get to this really weird immunity challenge.
yeah, which it's the three team split.
Yeah, and so
Just odd.
the first part is like I think a rope thing.
Yeah, the first one was each member would have to carry a ball on a disc across a balance beam and then dig up the rope rungs and get across the bridge. Or no, they didn't have to dig them up. They just had to retrieve them. I mean, not put them on the bridge. That was the next stage.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
first. Huh?
they should be clean. I am not done yet, though. I have to do something. They're clean, but I'm doing something. Okay. Sorry about that.
So there was a twist this round where the trio who came in last. I can't remember what exactly happened to them. It wasn't that you lost your bow. It was something.
The three teams, the team that made it to the final stage would all win a reward, but then only one of them would win immunity.
That's right. Okay. So I don't remember who the trios were. I think Emily, Julie, and somebody were a trio.
I think it was Emily, Austin, and Jake, and then Julie, Kendra, and Bruce were the winning trio, and then the other three, Drew, Dee, and Katura, I think were the other one.
So Drudy and Katera were the first ones out, if I remember correctly.
Wait, no, it was Austin, Emily, and Katura, right? Never mind. Cause yeah, the first one out would lose their vote but could earn it back. Yeah, I just remembered that.
That's right. Okay. So
Yeah,
yeah,
because Emily and Katura couldn't vote, but Austin won it back.
so they get in last. Second place is the trio, and the trio who makes the end is Kendra, Bruce, and Julie.
It's like I'm sad Julie didn't win an immunity because she was actually really good physically, surprisingly.
Yeah, no, the final 10 immunity was some type of endurance. She was the last one standing against Bruce.
Yeah,
And
both
this one
times.
was endurance one. Like, this season took two challenges from Cut Wrong, which is so
Yeah,
interesting. Because the end of this challenge was the one where you have to just keep your arms spread out and hold the disc in place.
yeah, which I remember from Ko-Rong pretty well.
Which it sucks that we didn't see everyone do this, because I wish we did.
Yeah, that would have been interesting to watch.
But I think Kendra drops first, then Julie drops after Bruce is like shaking.
Yeah, they were both shaking.
I was sitting over here like, Bruce, please drop.
Yeah, I wanted Julie to win that badly.
But sorry, Bruce wins immunity. And
Yeah, unfortunately.
what was the reward they won that round?
It was just rotisserie chicken at the sanctuary, which by the way, the sanctuary, why is like every reward there now? Like go different places. I know you can. You're just lazy.
That's right. I forgot. It was a single rotisserie chicken for all of them.
Yeah, which is kind of a lame reward, honestly, but food's food, I guess.
But back at camp, I think so. Yeah, the Reba Four decide to target Kendra. Yeah, this is the Kendra vote. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, this is the Kendra vote. I'm pretty sure literally everyone that can vote Kendra votes Kendra, and then Kendra obviously votes Jake.
Yeah, not much intrigue there.
Yeah, I don't even remember really what led up to it, honestly. It's just kind of a generic vote. Nothing
I
too
think it was
special about that
just
episode besides that.
I think it was just them trying to get rid of one of Bruce's allies in Kendra, since
I
Bruce was saved.
think. Maybe I also just wanted to weaken Bello a bit.
Yeah, probably. So, but to talk about Kendra, I totally liked Kendra. Like once Merge came, she got more camp life content and just was shown to be a wild personality.
Yeah.
The first episode, I didn't like her.
I didn't mind her. I just main things I remember about her was her talking about astrology at the after show and then her trying to eat the worm.
Yeah, and she was like very into astrology during the premiere as well.
Hmm.
And one thing to know about the premiere as well is that when they were making the Women's Alliance, Katara lied about her age.
Yeah.
One thing I just
And
realized
didn't
with that,
Kendra say that they were all like Libras or something like that? Like some random I don't remember.
yeah, one thing we forgot to mention as well is back at the swap. I think it was like the round after the swap. There was a journey where Austin, J. Meyer, and Kelly all went on a journey, and at the end they had to choose between sandwiches or the amulet.
Yeah. And Austin wanted food so bad.
He was like, "I want those sandwiches. I don't want the amulet." But
Yeah,
Jay
and
and
they ended up
Maya,
getting the amulet. It went on a revenge arc because of that.
yeah, Jay and Kelly went for the amulet. Which, if you're on Survivor, folks, never go for the amulet.
Literally,
It
kind of
always will.
screwed the players over in 42.
Yeah,
It's just gonna build like a. It's gonna build like false trust with all the other three, like all the three players that are involved with it.
so after the Kelly
Because you'll want to work
blindside,
together, but you'll secretly want to vote each other out.
after the Kelly blindside, Austin has two idols now.
Yeah,
And I believe this is the episode where he gives one of those idols to Julie.
I think it is.
And we don't revisit this until like the final 6, which is so funny.
Yeah, like final 6 or 7.
But yeah, Kendra goes majority vote. Kendra, great character.
Yeah.
Final 8. I believe
Get back.
this. Oh God.
I was picking my cat up and it just went.
I believe this is the episode with the. Yes, this is the This has the boys segment. Okay, so first we have a reward
Yeah.
challenge where I believe D wins reward.
Emily wins reward actually.
That's alright. Emily wins reward. And she
It
chooses
takes all the girls.
all of the girls on basically it's just a trip to the sanctuary where they with some food and they also get their loved one letters.
Yeah, and they stay the night as well.
Yes. And before we get to the borders segment, this had a couple interesting things in it. We find out that Katara went no contact with her mom for a year. And I think got a
Yeah,
letter
which
from her mom.
yeah, they got a letter too, which I don't know why they allowed that to go through. Because if they probably knew that, I'd assume that they would. So like, I don't know why they like allowed that to go through.
Who knows? CBS is weird with family things.
Yeah, probably just wanted some weird content.
And we also see that uh Emily plans to propose to her her boyfriend.
Oh yeah, right.
And
Yeah,
she
because
also,
didn't they like just recently move in like a month before they like filming or something?
I believe she mentions that.
I think so. I also love the confessional that Emily gives with the wine. It gave Mike White energy.
I was just about to mention that.
Yeah.
I don't believe we really got much from D or Katara. I'm not Katara. Julie.
Julie. Yeah, I don't think they gave that much this episode earlier. This like segment at least.
Then we cut to the boys,
The boys segment. Oh my god.
where we get this copyrighted music, which has seemed to be a trend in like reality TV because, like Survivor
Yeah,
Time
even with
doesn't-
like the teasers
the traders.
or the teasers. I mean,
Yeah, I was thinking like the traders how like, especially if you're watching season 2, like every time they're heading to the round table, they have this like song made for that.
uh, yeah, I just haven't seen the traders yet, so I wouldn't really know that yet.
You need to, my guy.
Yeah, I need to watch. I need to catch up.
We're probably gonna do a podcast on it. We could do a podcast on season 1 and season 2.
Yeah, that'd be good to catch up for.
But sorry, my cat's yelling at me.
Yeah, that's my cat likes to yell at me too. Hilda's coming on at me, and I'm like, "What do you want?"
What's so much better about this segment is that we get it in Drew's perspective.
Yeah, which honestly, I feel like Drew gave the best possible perspective out of all of them. I feel like It would have been kind of boring with the others, but Drew makes it entertaining.
I think Jake could definitely made it fun as well.
Yeah, Jake could have probably made it fun, but I still feel like Drew was the better choice between at least the two of them.
Especially since Drew was like the type of guy who's not normally in this type of setting.
Yeah, he's like the tall, skinny nerd next to like Austin and Bruce and Jake.
And they're just doing guy thing.
Yeah,
I mean, this is much better than a reward Drew misses out on later.
yeah. Which was like Third Wheel Sanctuary.
So, we get to the immunity challenge, and is this the? I believe this is the immunity challenge. That was the one about you have to basically hold yourself above water,
Yeah.
and it looked hard. I will definitely say that
Yeah, it looked very painful.
because you have.
Katara had a panic attack over it, so
Yeah, so Katira has a panic attack because she's scared to fall in the water. Which I don't blame her.
yeah, I don't blame her either.
And so she steps off, and I believe the final two of the immunity challenge is Austin and Bruce.
Yeah.
Uh, Bruce win, not Bruce winning. Austin wins.
Yeah, which like thank God, because if Bruce won again, I would have been mad.
which
I wanted his idol flushed.
which props to both of them because that looked like just a torture trap.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the final immunity from Survivor Fiji.
Yeah, I think it was a version of that. Because if you click it on the wiki, I'm pretty sure it does pull up that.
So, um, before we get to camp, an important character scene really is after a challenge when they're told to jump in the water and swim to the boat.
Yeah.
Katara is scared to dive in the water.
Yeah, like that was a pretty evil thing to say. Like obviously they let her like make the choice after, but that was a pretty evil thing to be like, okay, now jump in the water after she was clearly uncomfortable with it.
Right, and really at a point that Jeff always saying that after challenges is kind of pointless because all they do is just get on a boat anyway.
Yeah, so it's just like why make them do that?
This isn't like Survivor Africa where they have to walk back to camp.
Yeah. It was definitely interesting seeing them walk so far, and I think one of them literally got sick on the way there too, like from dehydration.
Oh, probably. Like I'm thinking Guatemala, where literally all of
Yeah, Guatemala was
Yasha,
harsh.
like all of Yasha after that 24-hour hike is just sick. No, that was Nakuma.
Yeah, especially wasn't Bobby John especially or whoever it was because they got like they stepped on like some plant or whatever and it like made them sick,
Yeah, it was
like
Bobby
throwing up to the point
John,
of dehydration.
Bobby John, Jim, and Brandon.
Yeah, which like that was definitely a harsh challenge.
So we get to camp, and Bruce is obviously the target. He knows this. Everyone knows this.
Yeah, but he has his idol.
He has his idol, and what he chooses to do with it is so weird.
Yeah, because Emily meta games him into not playing his idol.
That and like he tries creating this lie about his idol.
I remember him making a lie about it. I just don't remember what it was. I just remember that he made the lie like around the boys segment, and then Katura like kind of just like So like, no, that's not true, and then everyone figured it out after that. Or it was like
Yeah,
before the boys segment. I don't remember.
yeah, like normal, Katara ruins it. So I believe his lie was that he gave his idol to somebody. No, it was
Oh yeah, he said he gave his idol to
Kelly.
Kelly, who then went home with it.
Yeah, he tested it out on Katara for some reason. Like these two just randomly have trust in each other, even though they know they're against
Yeah,
each other.
which I just find so funny. Like how this just shows that Bruce is not the smartest strategic player. Because like, why would you tell someone who does not trust you that, and then expect them to believe it?
Because he tells
And then
Katara as a test to see if it's believable. Then he goes up to Jake and tells him, being like,
yeah,
"I know Jake's gonna spread it around like wildfire."
who does? So that's like the smartest thing about it. But the problem comes from the Katura thing, who then goes to Jake and tells him it's not true.
Yeah, then you have Katara, who seems to ruin every plan of everybody.
Yeah, I think actually I remember. I think it's because immediately after telling her, I'm pretty sure Bruce did say it was a lie, and then he was testing his acting skills. So that's how she knew, especially that it was not true.
That's
But
how she knew it wasn't true, and I think she was like,
yeah,
"Why do this?"
yeah, because I'm pretty sure she told everyone at the reward, and then when she got back to camp, she told Jake.
Yeah,
'Cause that's how they pulled him in for the blind side of Bruce.
and Emily, who early in the season literally called him out in front of the whole cast, somehow
Hmm.
convinces him not to play his idol.
Yeah, which is wild. Like if you know you're possibly a target, I would have just played it then, even if I had a feeling I wasn't going, just to be safe.
Oh, exactly. Like,
But people do dumb things out there, so I'm not surprised he didn't play it at the same time.
and then Bruce goes
Like
home.
Sabaya. Yeah, and then Bruce goes home 4-3-1 because they convinced him that it was going to be Julie, but Bruce was the only one to vote.
Yeah, and this is like where Julie really comes up as a name, as a threat,
Hmm.
which was a pleasant surprise to see.
Yeah, she was definitely a social threat, but that was like it.
Because I know a lot of the online community, or at least that I was seeing, was like, maybe we can finally change the archetype of the mom to where they can win again.
Yeah, because the last time we had like a mom archetype winner was did we even have one or like I don't even remember if we had one.
I'm thinking
'Cause I
Denise.
know Denise. I'm thinking Denise. I don't think Denise was that.
She wasn't really the mom archetype, though.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I swear we had at least one mom archetype, but I don't
After
remember
Tina
who it
Wesson.
was. Oh yeah, Tina Weston. Yeah, definitely.
And that was back in season 2.
Yeah, that was season 2, which is 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago. Way over.
I remember Nick from season 1 of Australian Survivor actually tweeted, was like, "I want Julie to win and change the archetype."
Yeah,
I would like to say
because like
he
the
has
mom
a
archetype
amazing
tends to go
Twitter.
far. Oh yeah. The mom archetype tends to go far quite often. It's just they never win.
Right? Like Heather.
Yeah, like Heather. Main example that I can think of that not being the case was I think Lindsay in 43.
That's also because she did it to herself.
Yeah, she paranoid herself out of the game, to be fair.
So let's talk Bruce.
Yeah. Interesting player.
He was not what I was expecting.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting him either. Me and my friend kind of said that he did not really live up to the hype. Especially since he was so invisible pre-merge.
Right, but I was expecting this guy who's blindly loyal to his alliance. And all of that, kind of like we
Yeah.
all expected in 44, and then he just,
Yeah, and then he just does that.
like, he's someone who tries to make big moves, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was a fun
He also
character
was a mini
still.
challenge beast.
Yeah. 2 immunities. And I think he's the second oldest
Yeah,
person in that cast.
I think so. Because I think Julie's older than him. Or is he the oldest? I actually don't. I have to look. Hold on. Let me look. He is the. Yeah, he's second oldest. Julie's oldest.
I'd like to say this cast was very young.
Yeah, this was like. I think this is like one of the younger casts on average. Which, like, I don't mind, but I also think we should. I like seeing older players play still. Because I think it's just because they're trying to cater more to the younger people, which, like, is fine. But I'd like to see, like, the, like, 60-year-olds play again.
Like, I guess that makes sense why when I first saw the 45 cast, I was like, these people look like the same type of people we get every season.
Yeah. Pretty much ever since New Era, we've just been seeing a lot of, like, Gen Z players.
There's been a good few older players in the new era.
There's been a
Though.
few, like we got Heather, we got, like, Mike, we got
I would imagine like Carlos in his
Gabler.
30s, Danny's got to be in his 30s, Jam Jam's definitely like in
Yeah.
his 30s.
Yeah, Jam's
Caroline,
33, I think.
yeah. So
But
we move on to the final 7.
Final 7 was the saddest round for all the Twitter people.
And me.
Yeah, and me too. And even
So we
Salem. Salem said he stopped watching the season after this episode, so
so we get to camp, and in retrospect, this is on Emily though. She immediately they get to camp. She immediately is talking bragging about how this was my move to get rid of Bruce.
yeah,
I convinced.
which is like when Carolyn did that last season, I was so like upset. I was like, no, don't do that. She almost went home that episode, but she didn't, and she made final 3, but she didn't win. But when Emily did this, I knew that was gonna be her downfall. I was so upset to do that. That was like the dumbest thing she's done all season.
Right, like all Emily, you should have waited till final tribal.
Yeah, you should have waited till Final Trouble. That's something I do. I don't, because I've literally had a person in an org straight up like ask me questions about my game just for fun, like just to talk about it. And I was like, I don't want to be seen as a threat, so I didn't say anything.
I always try
Like
to
I just didn't answer the question.
I always try to play up the fact of I don't have any allies or like say I'm a tiny on a thing, like I am in an org I'm in right now. I'm like I was a flop on my season. I was just like the second merge boo.
My God. Yeah, I try to downplay my game when I'm like talking about game to people because I have people that like try to ask me like, oh, like what did you do or whatever. I'm just like, I don't know. Like I act like I don't know what's happening even though I'm like very aware of it or like I know how I played because I know that I could be seen as a threat. And that's partially how like I mentioned where someone, even though it was an easy boot, they didn't vote me out. That was part of the reasons because I didn't talk about my game to them at all.
But this episode does start. I think this starts D's immunity streak.
I think.
Oh, is this when
Or
Austin?
no,
won
wait, no,
immunity?
No, this is when Drew won immunity, actually.
That's right. Okay. So this immunity challenge was actually a
I
cool
think,
one. I think's been in Survivor a couple times.
I think.
In the next episode, also, I
Yeah,
believe is
it
a
was in
cool
Guatemala
one.
and stuff. So,
So
yeah,
this is
next
one
episode was cool.
where you do a obstacle course and you have to collect puzzle pieces and you basically have to figure out a word that is just an arc. So you
Yeah,
have to
but it has to be on
perfectly
both sides too, which makes it harder.
so you have to perfectly balance and make sure to do the puzzle right. Drew wins over
Yeah,
Austin, shockingly.
yeah, I think it was because Austin had it, but he didn't have the word correct on both sides, so he had to restart the entire thing,
And this is
which
also
allowed
when
Drew to kind of.
this is when a couple feuds start. in this episode. So after Drew wins immunity, we get back to camp, and this is when like Julie is propped up as a big threat by like literally everybody.
Yeah. Mainly Drew, though, I think.
Yeah. So Drew and Julie now have a big thing. I believe this is the start of the Drew and Jake feud.
Yeah, the name of this, or the next episode is, or isn't it? No, previous episode was the start of it, because the How Am I the Monster was it? It continued into this. They were not with each other.
Was last episode the one where they had the fight?
Yeah.
I will say that's one thing I've liked about the New Era seasons is that a couple of them do actually have like fights in them. Like I'm thinking Ryan and Owen in
Yeah.
43.
Yeah, I loved that fight.
Yeah, these two
The
starting to
main
like
thing I think of in this fight is Drew yelling, "You're a goon," or whatever.
yeah.
I love that.
So everyone tries to vote Julie. So like literally everybody basically decides to vote Julie besides D. D doesn't know about it.
Yeah, but then Austin eventually decides to break the news just to like not blindside her, because they're in a showmance, that they're gonna vote Julie, who then goes and tells Julie about it, or so then goes and tells Julie about it, and tells her to play the idol.
And like this feeds into the theme Jeff talks about at the end, and that is kind of apparent with a couple of votes. So like mainly I'm thinking both times with Caleb at the Sabaya and the J Maya vote, where
Yeah.
this theme of authenticity that's in the season all the time,
hmm
which I don't know how I really feel about.
But this was definitely D's game-winning move, though, because
Oh, for sure.
obviously, like no one knew about it until Final Tribal.
Yeah, so D tells Julie to play the idol, and Julie, I think, originally, Julie wants to vote Austin originally.
Yeah, like I still remember her crazy face. Was she was like, "Why can't I vote Austin?" She was just so like, like sure about it. And D was like, "No, listen to me, vote Emily."
Which Julie should have voted Austin.
Yeah, in a way. I feel
But I
like
guess
Julie
that.
probably could have made Final Tribal if they didn't.
Oh yeah, and I think it speaks to Dee's game. Like, I don't think she's the best player, but I think she did happen to find herself with the right allies,
Yeah, she found like the perfect allies.
where people were loyal to her in Austin and Julie, and I think Drew just at a point would have figured her out, but just didn't at the right time.
Yeah, probably why they had to get him out at 6.
But yeah, in this episode, everybody besides Julie votes for Julie.
Then she
But
plays the idol.
remember the idol Austin gave her and never give back?
Yep.
Julie
This
plays the
was
idol.
to Austin's detriment.
And
Didn't even Drew say something about it being a bad decision to do that?
yeah,
Like back then?
I think they talked about like the episode after they were like, maybe you should like check up on Julie and see if she will give you the idol back.
Yeah, and then I think Austin's died denies it, and she's like, no, she won't.
Or no, she will give the idol back.
But then they just don't anyway.
Then yeah, sadly it sends Emily out of the game.
Yeah. 6-1.
Where I thought Emily would give us a little bitterness on her way out. I was kind of hoping.
Same.
Because, like, on a point I mentioned earlier on how, like, Jeff Cat has been casting New Era on people he would want to hang out with. I think that's why
Yeah,
everyone's so
probably, yeah.
friendly and kind when being voted out.
Yeah, but I like miss the toxicity. I miss the bitterness. I miss like Gabon style fights where like people would be so bitter.
Exactly. That's why, like, I like Kelly being like, what the hell?
Yeah, what the hell, guys?
But Emily, what a character.
Yeah, Emily is my favorite from the season by far.
I do love that they literally just have a message and literally telling us she's coming back.
Yeah. There's just like no way she doesn't come back.
I can't wait to see her back. I would love to see her win and be able to improve gameplay wise.
The only like downside, apparently, and I think Emily did apparently say that she's not eager to play again, which like I can't blame her.
Right? Now we get to final six, and this is when we get like a actually really cool immunity. So I don't think there's anything important that happens before the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can name anything either.
Well, first we have the reward challenge actually.
Yeah, which is the barreling along, which I think is actually cool. And I think it was cool that they had to like go on a like a barrel across the rope course.
What's so weird to see is that people didn't really struggle that much. Then you also had Julie. I think by now, since Julie knew her name was out there, she did not care. She just went over the top with how she acted all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah. She just kind of like, I'm out there. I'm just gonna be myself,
She's like,
acting crazy, which I liked. I liked when she was acting crazy.
like all season she kind of was in her confessional.
Hmm.
I felt like she was an underrated character early on.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't remember who wins reward. It was D or Austin.
It was Austin.
Now Austin picks a D. Obviously, everybody knows by now they're a showmance. It's the most
Yeah.
obvious thing on the planet.
Yeah, they did not try to hide it like at all.
And Katira.
Yeah, which was a really big shock. I thought because I knew that they were against Julie at this point, but I genuinely thought that they were gonna pick that he was gonna pick Drew.
Well, because remember, he literally says it at the challenge that he's basically picking, he's leaving people behind to basically babysit.
Yeah, which was like damn, okay. Like it was a
And
bit odd.
I think I remember Katira literally basically being a little sassy at the challenge too when she gets picked.
Yeah.
So they get to go on this award where they get to go on a helicopter trip, and I think just then they go at a destination. I don't think they spend the night there. I think they just got to eat there or something.
Yeah, they just got to eat there. It was like a picnic.
Yeah. So Drew, Jake, and Julie are left at camp. Drew was pissed.
Yeah, Drew was so mad. I still remember Drew throwing the pot lid.
Drew
He was
throwing the pot
mad.
lid when D and Julie, not D and Julie, Julie and Jake go off to look for a advantage.
Yeah.
And the reason he was the one left behind was to babysit. He doesn't do well at his job.
Yeah.
And
He
I
just kind of
remember
lets them do whatever.
in like I believe the confessionals after the helicopter comes down and literally swoops by them, and that just pisses Drew off more.
Yeah, he's just like, God damn it! Like that was so evil. I loved they them do that. That was kind of that's like a classic Survivor moment. Just rubbing it in.
And so um yeah, they go looking for a advantage, and I believe this is when Jake like finds the clue to a advantage to the idol he
I think
gets.
so. Yeah. Pretty sure, yeah,
Um,
because I'm pretty sure it was like in the like raft.
and we'll get to that really weird scene.
Yeah.
But Jake gives them confessional being like, "I'm the fun babysitter,"
Yeah. Like
which
I let them go out at night and give them cotton candy for dinner, like something like that.
I
I
love
swear he
his
said something like
confessionals
that.
all season.
Yeah, his confessionals were pretty good. I still just found them egotistical.
Jake,
Jake, my beloved underdog. Wait, oh wait, did you mean Jake's confessionals or Drew's?
yes, I meant Jake's
Yeah, my
confessionals.
I heard everything but the name, and I just assumed you were talking about Drew. Yeah, I liked Jake's confessional though. I did
I
not
think like
find him egotistical.
I think by final six, well, final seven, really, everybody but Dee and Austin are very entertaining.
Yeah, because honestly, Dee and Austin just kind of drop off in entertainment just because of how close they are and how like obvious it is that they're winning. So it's just kind of like you start paying attention to anyone else. Because even with the hint that they dropped, like the editing hint, I don't remember if it was in this episode or the one, right? But they literally mentioned Boston Rob and Amber, and that literally showed obviously like the girl winning too. So like there was no way that that wasn't some kind of hint to her winning and him losing to her.
Yeah, I never know. I remember that scene. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah, I thought about it immediately. I'm pretty sure because I watched it with Largo. I remember immediately going to him after the episode ended and being like, "There's no way that wasn't a hint."
So when
That
we
just
cut,
that just kind of confirmed it to me that she was winning.
so when we cut to the reward, poor Katara.
Oh yeah,
Dee and Austin are over here holding hands, and Katara delivers some confessional being like, "I'm the third wheel."
yeah. I feel so bad for her, but it's also kind of funny.
I mean, it's Katara dragging others, so it's always great to see.
Yeah, I love when people drag others.
Especially Katara, she does it so well.
Yeah. Like, what was the one confessional she gave about Bruce that was like really funny? I loved that one. There was one of I don't remember what she said, but it was something about Bruce.
Um, so yeah, award goes like that, and at the immunity challenge, so they have to go through this rope obstacle course where they're tied to a rope, and they have to go through this obstacle course. No, they have to collect a certain amount of rope,
Wait for the
and
immunity challenge?
yeah,
The immunity challenge was the like they had to bounce the ball and balance beam with their leg.
which round was it that had the one where they had to collect a certain amount of rope, and then at the end they had to like throw it and make sure they had the right amount of rope just in case like they missed.
That was the final five, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I believe D wins this challenge.
Yeah, D wins it. Blowout too. She didn't move once.
Yeah, I'm like, please drop D, please.
I was I didn't care that she didn't drop. I was fine with it. I just thought it was kind of insane how she didn't move a single time. Although Drew fighting for his life was kind of funny to watch. He got so close to falling so many times before finally
And
dropping.
D trash talking Austin the whole time.
Yeah, I loved that.
D wins immunity, and the boot isn't it is simple,
Yeah. I don't remember
but
who led the charge to blindside Drew again.
I believe it was
Wasn't it
D.
Julie? It was either D or Julie. I don't remember. Because Drew and Austin both voted for Julie, and then Austin used his idol on himself.
Yeah. Also, before Tribal, we get the segment of Jake finding the idol in the raft, and for some
Hmm.
reason Jake gets naked.
Yeah.
The fuck? Like he just Richard hatches it.
Yeah. He's just like. Then he literally said something about. 'Cause I remember freaking. I watched Peridium's or not. It was either I think it was Peridium or it was either Peridium or Idled Out's video on 45, and they literally said at least take the raft out to dinner first.
Probably idled out.
I think it was Idled Out that said that.
That's something he would say.
Yeah.
But or again, just say something random. Oh Lord.
Ex-girlfriend at the wedding. Another weird episode title.
Okay, so at camp, I believe it's Dee and Julie leading the charge.
I think. Yeah.
I think Dee was like actually leading the charge, but the show made it seem like Julie also was.
Yeah, it was probably mostly just D.
And then we get back to the theme of authenticity thing, where we get the opposite of what happened before with the Emily boot, where Dee and Austin are talking, and Dee is conflicted on whether to tell Austin or not about the fact that she's about to blindside his number one ally, Drew.
And I think it's good that she didn't.
Yeah.
So.
She decides not to and is like, this is a game for $1 million. I'm gonna be this is for my family. Like, I can't just risk it all.
Yeah. I actually do think I remember. I actually do remember. I think Jake talked to Katura first about getting Drew out, and then was like, "I hope she doesn't tell anyone." Then she immediately it cuts to Katura talking to Dean, and she's just like, "Say who we want out at the same time." They both say Drew.
That's right.
I remember that scene very vividly now.
That's a fun scene, honestly.
Yeah.
I never suspected those two to really have a relationship.
Yeah, me neither.
But yeah, Austin plays his idol himself, which, okay.
Yeah, it literally would have been him and Drew. They would have been in the finale together if he just played Drew, but he probably didn't think Drew would be blindside. He probably was so confident it was Julie, and then just played it on himself just to be safe. Because it was the last round, he could have used it anyway. So.
Which at least he played his idol to be safe there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like when players have idols at like the final 5 and don't play them or something like that.
Yeah.
We don't need another Sabaya situation.
Yeah. Because like when Jesse at final 5 of 43, like he didn't need it, but he played it anyway. Like that was good.
So, yeah, Drew goes 4-2.
Yeah.
Like, and Drew, I think, he's the villain of the season for sure.
Yeah, for sure. No way. He's arrogant and was the really only person getting like visibly mad, fighting people.
And I feel like he's the biggest villain we've seen since Shan.
Yeah, for sure.
Because yeah, technically,
I remember
Carla
Shan
and, like,
actually
Ryan,
disliked.
Ryan and Carla were technically villains. Is Danny considered a villain?
Yeah.
Probably not.
I'd say a little bit, but not really. I'd say more so just Carla though. Ryan a little bit, mostly Carla, and then Shan was like full on villain.
Right, which I always like seeing a villain on Survivor, especially in this new era where it feels like everyone's the same fucking way all the time.
Yeah, it's refreshing seeing people like that.
Especially when it's not a purposeful villain. He reminds me kind of a coach in a sense, in a weirder sense.
Yeah.
So it's finale time.
I can see that. Finale.
So we get to the final 5 challenge, which is the one where they get the rope. I think they have to go through obstacle course, and then they have to make sure they have the right amount of rope to get to where they have to throw like sandbags and knock over some blocks.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Jake found the challenge advantage, so he only had to release one of the numbers. Although I'm pretty sure he like completely blew his lead because he forgot like a key or something.
Yes. Okay. So what is that?
which
they
literally lost in the challenge too.
so yeah, they had to I think they had to release these numbers and make sure they had the right amount of rope to be able to achieve sandbags when they needed to. And once they received the key, I think they got to unlock themselves and get the numbers. And they, obviously going on top of this tower like they always do to do the puzzle. And it is Austin and Jake literally head to head.
Yeah, like they were so close to each other. Like whenever one of them would get to the next level, the other would write like 10 seconds later.
Yeah, so it's the Michelle Fitzgerald puzzle.
Yeah, which is the first time that it's been used outside of one of her seasons.
So literally Jake almost wins this, but he has a piece to the side. And it's besides
Yeah.
his barrier, so I think he just doesn't notice it because of that.
Yeah, and he also lost a bit of lead. He probably would have been fine and been able to find it had he not like lost time prior because of like him having to go back or something, but that
Yeah,
definitely lost him the challenge.
because he had to go back and grab his key.
Yeah.
But Austin wins immunity, and Jeff just berates Jake.
Yeah, like it's right there, bro. Like thanks, Jeff.
Jake's is like, oh my god, oh my fucking god.
Yeah. And on top of the clowning of him previously anyway, that just definitely added on to it. So
And he gets clowned on later this episode before the final
yeah,
four
even more.
round and at the final four challenge.
Yep.
Jake is a highlight in the finale, I think. He really helps in the
Yeah, he's
finale.
definitely the star in that finale. I was rooting for him quite hard.
Same. I nearly cried when he lost.
Yeah. I'm pretty
So,
sure my mom, though, my mom, shit together, my mom said at the final three, she said, if Jake wins, I think I'll cringe. And like, I don't blame her.
I don't remember what my mom said when we watched the finale together.
Yeah, fair enough. My mom's just very like direct and blunt about things, so I remember what she says quite often.
So we get back to camp, and we get what wouldn't be a bad plan if Jake and Katara don't mess this up. So,
Yeah.
so here's Jake's plan. It's that he thinks that everybody's going to be voting Katara, so he reveals the idol to Katara, and what he plans to do is play the idol on Katara, so that then he he can play the idol, negate votes on Katara, and then him and Katara can vote D and get D out of the game.
Yeah.
I was so rooting for this
But
move to
then,
work.
yeah, I was so rooting for that to work, but then Katira's just like, I don't know if he'll actually play the idol on me, so she just doesn't vote D.
And that's also because like I think Jake I'm not too sure because I didn't think about this until after the episode and I saw other people talking about it. Apparently he didn't like make it clear that he was going to play the idol on Katara, I guess.
Yeah. I kind of don't, but if someone says they're gonna play an idol on me at that point in the game where I'm just desperate, I would just be like, fine, do whatever, because like that's like a last effort, and it literally lost Jake this season. I think it would have actually won had Katura not messed it up because D wouldn't have been there. But that literally just changed the entire finale. That one little vote.
Right? Which again, we know the reputation of Katara during this whole season. She has to ruin every single plan.
Yep.
So, we get Tribal Council in. I believe it's 3 votes Julie. Cause I'm pretty sure Katara like
It's
literally tells the Reba before his plan.
it's actually a plurality vote. It's 2 votes Julie, 1 vote D, 1 vote Jake, 1 vote Katura that was negated.
That's right. Who voted Jake? Katara?
Julie voted Jake. Because Austin and Katura voted Julie, D voted, or Jake voted for D, Julie voted for Jake, and then D voted for Katura.
So yeah, Julie goes, and Julie was a great character all season,
Yeah, I really enjoyed her.
and she wasn't a bad player.
Yeah, she was pretty good, like socially too. Like, she's a good, strong social player.
Like she wasn't Chrissy Hoffback, but socially she was good. I think actually could have won if she made the end. Maybe
Yeah,
not
same. I
against
agree.
D, but like say Jake and Katera.
Yeah, I think the only person she might not beat, obviously, is D. I think she could have even beaten Austin, maybe.
Yeah, because I'm shocked Austin got votes at the end in general, honestly.
Same. I'm just glad it wasn't a 7-1-0 again.
Yeah, no, that final tribe was actually a good one.
Yeah, that was a great Final Tribal Council. The arguments between the two of them.
Even though I hate the new tribal format still.
Yeah, same. I just wish it was like the jury speeches because then they can dig into them more.
That and I feel like that gives more time for the because then you have to ask everyone questions and lets all the final third explain their game.
Yeah.
So like we can talk final tribal in like a minute because it's about to be final tribal time. But first we got final four.
Yeah, Final Four round's an interesting one.
So obviously everyone knows it's fire making. So the target here is Katera because D wants Austin at the end, not because she can beat him, but because just wants Austin at the end with her. Or at least that's how the
Yeah.
show portrays it. And obviously no one cared about Jake.
Yeah.
But the way they try to prop Katera up here,
Yeah, it was interesting.
like, how am I supposed to believe Katera is the final boss?
Yeah, like no, like the final boss is D, like, but obviously she wins immunity anyway. So like,
So yeah, we get to the immunity challenge, and it's the bowl stacking one we've had like for like a lot of seasons now,
yeah,
but kind
it
of
was like
different. So
it was the same one as in 43. It's just obviously the only difference was like the greats they had to step over.
so yeah, they have to step over the grate. Then it's the one where you have to take the bowl through the puzzle and put it on top.
Yeah.
Now here's why this challenge is being mentioned at all. Jake.
Yep.
So Jake,
Jake just straight up annihilates it.
yeah. So Jake like is just he's at one point not paying attention at all, not trying to like go slow and steady like the others, like D is or anything. He's just stepping completely on the grate. And before anything
Yeah.
happens, Jeff makes a comment saying, "Jake, if you break the challenge, you will be disqualified."
And then he gets disqualified.
He literally breaks the challenge. You hear it snap.
Yeah, and it was like violent. It was a violent snap.
And then Jeff is like, Jake, you broke the challenge, you're disqualified. And you can tell Jeff is pissed. Jake is pissed.
Yeah.
Because I think he was in like
Everyone's
second
pissed.
place.
Yeah, I think he was in second behind D, I think.
And then, like, you know, he says, I was just trying to go fast, man. And then he steps to the
Yeah.
beach and try to, like, calm his anger.
Yeah, you can see him like go down by the water.
But, like, I still kind of think it's a little bit of the challenge designer's fault. The fact that the challenge broke. But, like, maybe
Yeah.
not. Like, maybe that grate should have been more solid instead.
Yeah.
So D wins immunity because of course she does.
Third immunity of the season.
So basically, the focus before we get the fire making is that he's trying to figure out who can beat Katara in fire. So I remember Austin is trying so hard to go into fire. Jake and Austin are trying
And
so
then you
hard to
just like
go.
no.
Yeah, D is like, no, Austin, you're not going into fire.
Yeah.
But what Austin does to combat this is that he visits Jake while Jake is literally struggling to make fire. like,
And then helps him, I think, right?
helps him, then goes to tell
Or-
D, hey, Jake is struggling. You need to put me in there.
Yeah.
What's better is it doesn't work.
Yeah. I was actually kind of hard rooting for D to put Austin in and then like against Jake and then just like see like Jake just take Austin out. That would have been really funny.
No, because it would have been Austin and Katara.
Or yeah, like something like that. Just whatever, just to see like Austin go out. I think it would have been really funny just to see Austin go out there.
And poor Katara, she's struggling more than Jake is.
Yeah.
Then we get the fire making, which is an interesting one, I think, actually.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting one. It was like kind of a blind side to us on who won it.
It's not like a Gabler where he beats the fire making record.
Yeah.
Or like Heidi putting herself in fire or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like Katara is struggling the whole time. She gets a little flame that goes out at a point. Jake gets a flame and it goes out, but then it doesn't really go out. It comes back and then he just makes a massive flame and boom. He's won.
Yeah. And it wasn't necessarily like a blowout fire making challenge, but it was definitely like not that close because by the time Jake was about done, Katura had like just gotten her fire to work.
Now I will say I feel like fire making's getting a little old by now.
Yeah. I feel like there could have been some kind of because like the reason like they showed Katura saying, "Can it just be a normal Final Four vote?" Because they wouldn't have showed that if they knew about it. But like they are also starting to take more into like the community's like opinions now, like with like bringing the auction back and like stuff like that.
Like
So I feel
last
like they
big
might
gasp
be open
coming
to
back.
changing it. Yeah.
Like I don't like fire making just in total. I just think just like the third job format, it's just been used too many times.
Yeah, it's been used literally every season since 35, so it's been used for 10 seasons now. I think it should only be a tiebreaker.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk Katara.
Yeah.
I do love her storyline by the end, how she gets to like express herself and like actually we get to hear who she is, how she didn't figure out. I think she had a bad home life growing up and
Yeah.
also being a bi black woman really was a struggle for her all through life.
Yeah. Which like it was a little odd to hear it so late because I feel like why couldn't have we heard that before? But it was interesting to hear it.
And she was a great
Just
character
in
in my
general.
opinion. Not
Yeah, she
a
was a
good
good
player.
character. I just feel like yeah, not the greatest player, but character wise I liked her.
And then we have our final three.
Yeah. Jake, D, and Austin.
And we get and I'm very glad during this new era, I think they added this back in like 42 where we get to hear from each juror before final tribal. I'm glad we get that back.
Yeah, I love that segment. I like it. It looks nice and it's fun to hear what they all think.
I don't think there was anything notable during this specific one.
Yeah,
So,
I think I just remember I think one of them mentioned wanting to hear Jake express himself more, but I don't remember. I think it might have been Caleb
yeah,
that said that.
probably. And I was like, okay, King Caleb.
Yeah.
So we get the final tribal. Yep.
I don't remember who speaks first actually.
I think it's Emily actually who gets the first word,
I think it might have been, yeah.
which is not too many notable things with final tribal. Main thing I can think of is that only I think Jake only got to talk 3 times, including his opening statement.
Yeah.
And
Because
Drew
after his
gets,
he spoke, they just kind of focused on the other two, so
and I think Drew was actually bitter about his elimination.
I
Drew
think
and
so,
Julie,
yeah.
I yeah, because they spoke a lot too, being part of that Reba 4.
Yeah. But Drew I remember Dean eventually made Julie feel better about it, I think.
Because at first it wasn't really like I remember Jeff Probst touting Final Tribal as this big war, and in the beginning it's
Yeah,
not
I
really
remember
shown
hearing
as
about
that.
that.
But like after I think a few questions, D and Austin pick it up.
Yeah, Dee and Austin towards the end of the tribal especially just start like kind of slandering each other, just trying to like get any leverage. And then when Dee finally drops the bomb of like, I'm the one that told Julie about the blind side and told her to play the idol, that's the one that kind of solidified her win. As soon as she said that, I knew she was winning.
Which, like, how did no one ever figure out that she did that? Especially like Austin.
Yeah, like I don't. She did a good job at hiding that.
Right, but then we get to the vote. 5-4, I believe is what it
Five to
was.
three.
5-3. But like still,
Yeah.
I'm so glad we got a not unanimous jury vote.
Yeah, same. There's been too many near unanimous ones recently. I'm just glad it was close. Even Jake was like, I was like, who am I gonna vote for? Like, I thought it would tie.
And like I do want to talk after show a little bit because I think there's a couple interesting things after show.
Hmm.
One big thing is poor Jake. I felt bad for him the whole time
Yeah, same.
because you could tell he was like he's trying not to like he was just trying to still be himself even though you could tell he was broken.
Yeah, he definitely was feeling down about himself. I don't blame him if I had like a garbage, like, uh, if I had like a garbage game, not like garbage. I don't know how to word it. If I had a messy game like he did, I'd feel bad too because everything he tried missed.
Right, and I also remember when Kelly was talking about her blind side, she like was completely blacked out when she did the what the hell guys.
Yeah, she said she didn't remember it, and she was like, apparently I said, "What the hell, guys?" Like,
Because Jeff asked
but
me
honestly,
like,
that's what it does to you.
yeah, especially when just something like that happens, you just go in a fit rage.
Yeah.
And like obviously we get a segment from I think Kendra about if she expected it or something like that due to her being an astrologer.
Yeah.
And obviously Jeff
Because
touches.
didn't she know that like she was like Dee and Austin were gonna be together? Their signs match up that much or something. Obviously, that aged poorly, but
Yeah, I think she does mention that.
yeah. And on top of it aging poorly, it does make I think after on in Dee's postseason interview on like, it might have been Rob has a podcast. She mentioned like, oh, we're not sure if we're together. We're just kind of keeping it private. That was basically her saying now we're not a thing after the Wendell thing came out.
Also, Jeff was
It's kind of
in love
sad.
with Drew during this after show.
Yeah. We got a whole segment about his quotes and references.
Yeah, and Jeff ends after show like, Drew, give us a quote on your way out.
Yeah, that makes me think that Drew could come back, honestly, because Jeff clearly likes him. So.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
And he does. I think. So I think he originally starts by asking Katara about being a lawyer and making the Final Four.
Yeah, I
Then that
think.
extends out to Julie, then extends out to Jay.
Yeah. Any other jurors? What? Any other lawyers here? Like, 3 lawyers. It is weird to think we could have possibly had an all-lawyer final 3. That would have been interesting to see.
It would have. I would also like to say I kind of miss the reunions.
Yeah, I really miss the reunion. I like seeing what they all look like many months later, and after they all had time to process everything.
Yeah, I can completely understand the appeal of the after show being like, okay, let's see their thoughts right after the season.
Yeah. I also just miss the pre-jury being there.
Yeah, like I would love to hear something from Sifu or Brandy.
Yeah. Yeah, Brandon especially. Or even Hannah in a way.
Yeah, because like I know one thing I think people talk about a lot is that at least I think people discredit Sean for it, but like is that at least Hannah doesn't really regret her decision of quitting, while Sean does.
Yeah. I just hope we get the reunion back eventually. It probably won't be for a while, but I feel like we could get it back someday if we beg hard enough. Because if we begged hard enough for the auction to come back, I'm sure that we can get that.
And since technically the 46 preview is part of 45, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
It gave nothing.
The only like interesting thing was that one guy who I think's name started with a T because I saw a leaked cast, but I don't feel like finding it again. But I think it was like Tevin or something. The guy that like had the buff and was freaking out about that. That guy seems like he might be energetic. And for whatever reason, that one like redheaded girl stands out to me. But
Like,
other than that, there wasn't much special about it.
like I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, 46 is gonna be a bad season. No, it's just we got nothing in that preview.
Yeah, which could signal that either they're trying to hide something or that nothing that special happened. Because like the 44 preview, we immediately got Brandon jumping or not jumping, falling off a cliff, and then
Matthew
uh
falling off the cliff.
yeah, or Matthew, I meant not Brandon. Yeah, I don't know why I said Brandon, but um yeah, we got Matthew falling off that like stone cliff, and then we got little snippet of Bruce's injury, and then like the 45 we got I think Bruce again.
Yeah,
And even
and
in
like,
like 44 we got to see some of Yam Yam, so
and I think a big thing probably with the 46 thing is that they don't know yet. They still, I don't know if they know by now, but at the time at least of 45's airing out, I would assume in editing, they didn't know whether the next season is going to be 90 minutes or the regular time.
yeah, probably. Because I think because obviously they probably had editing finished by then, but or not, or like almost finished, but I don't know. We'll have to see what the season turns out to be though. 'Cause I think I doubt it'll be bad, but you never know. Hopefully it's not another 43 where it's like garbage ending.
Yeah, and I think really if Survivor did like the uh Big Brother over top thing and just went on Paramount Plus, they could easily do 90 minutes every episode.
Hmm.
Which I know, I
I
think
think they
episode
did say
two
that. I think they did say 46 will be 90 minutes though. So
and episode two, I think, is like 2 hours.
I think both the premiere and second episode are 2 hours. I think that's mainly because of the Amazing Race not being until March.
Yeah.
So
Let's talk about Final
they
Three
have
because
like 2 episodes.
we didn't really talk about them.
Yeah. Guess we'll start in order of the boots, so we'll probably start with like Jake maybe.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love Jake.
Yeah, he was a really rootable underdog. I liked him since like the merge, pretty much.
Rootable underdog, great confessionals.
Yeah, I do just wish at least one thing would have worked out for him.
Right? But when you start the season with I live in my grandma's basement,
Yeah, that's gonna say some things.
we're gonna automatically love you.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like Jason from Big Brother 17 and Over the Top.
Oh yeah. He seems weird. Like,
Jason or
yeah,
Jake?
Jason. Yeah. I don't know. I just like I haven't seen either of his seasons yet, but I don't. When every time I look at him, he just seems weird to me. I don't know why.
Then we have Austin.
Austin, I remember I liked a little bit, but then after he gave the idol to Julie, I just kind of stopped caring for him.
I think he's
His
a
sandwich
fine.
arc was great, but
I think he's a fine character, but it says something when all his confessionals always seem like they had to be there.
yeah, his confessionals didn't stand out to me that much. The main, like his main, the main thing that made me like him was, like I said, the revenge for like the sandwich thing. But like
That and just
overall, I didn't
being Africa
care.
guy.
Yeah,
And then we have a winner D.
I think obviously game wise, D was a great winner, but character wise, I don't care for her that much.
Character wise, yeah, she wasn't the greatest. And gameplay wise, my thing with D is that one thing like I still hate like I still don't know if I want to consider her the best new era winner because I feel like she wasn't against that great of a cast gameplay wise.
Yeah. And especially because of the drama that came out after the season ended with her and Wendell, I don't know, that kind of like bittered my like soured my taste for like how I saw her as a player. So I just don't like her as much anymore. I don't know why.
Yeah. Like I think I'd consider like maybe Marianne the best winner in new era.
Yes, same. Or even Erica. I feel like Erica is a great winner too, gameplay wise. It's just obviously she wasn't shown that much. But I feel
True,
like Marianne was probably the best winner that we've seen in the new era
because the thing with
overall.
Erica is that like she was against some good game players.
Yeah, like Shan, Ricard, Xander. I mean, Xander not as much, but like Xander was definitely like up there in terms
Evie,
of some of the cast. Yeah, like Evie and stuff. Xander is definitely not in the top five on that season, but he was at least thinking.
like I think for 45
And
gameplay wise, it must say something in that like one of the best players I can think of off the top of my head is like Drew or Emily.
yeah, everyone else was kind of not that much of a strategist on that season.
Like this season was a character driven season for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Just like last season, even last season was a character driven one in my opinion too.
But do we have any other overall thoughts on the season before we conclude?
Not that I can think of, other than like me just genuinely enjoying the season a lot. I feel like they hit the nail on the head with the hammer with a few things, like the 90-minute episodes and the editing. But obviously, there's still some work to be done, especially since it's still new era E.
Yeah, and this is the most entertaining season of the new era to me.
Yes,
Like I
same.
said, gameplay wise, the whole time I was wishing we got more. Like this season, just the gameplay was kind of boring because we had a alliance of four dominate.
Yeah. And we had an alliance of three dominate 44, but at least they were like a lot more entertaining because we had Carson, Carolyn, Yami, and like all pretty good characters. So that was at least entertaining. But like the Reba 4, there wasn't much special about them other than like Julie acting like crazy towards the end of her game
And Drew being
and Drew being
egotistical
angry.
Drew.
Yeah. But like D and M, or not D and Emily, D and Austin, I didn't get much from.
Yeah, and like I feel like 42 and 41 have much more complex gameplay.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, one thing I mentioned at some point, I don't remember if it's the beginning or not, but this season definitely feels a good bit old school.
Yeah, it definitely was the most old school feeling season of the new era, like by far.
Like gameplay wise, it is 100% that feeling.
Yeah, and even with some like the recurring challenges and stuff, like it felt older because they used some older challenges that we haven't seen in like a few seasons or like a while even. Like pretty sure there was like they brought back the Fiji challenge, like I mentioned earlier. Stuff.
And I feel like even with casting, it feels like how a old school season would be casted, but just more diverse.
Yeah, definitely. I also appreciate that they're finally taking the time to add new challenges like the coral puzzle at final like 16 or something. Like one of the not 16, 17, like the second immunity challenge that had a new puzzle.
Yeah, we desperately need new immunity challenges, and I think
Yeah.
after Carson literally gamed last season, they were
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, we ain't doing this again. Like that weird rope puzzle that they had for the earning your vote back and um the Sweat versus Savvy, that's new.
Yeah. And then even like the like just the maps or like the coral puzzle and stuff. Like it was refreshing seeing new challenges. And even with like the last two seasons, it was nice seeing like last gasp return. I can't speak, but stuff like that. And I hope we get more like old challenges and stuff.
I kind of want Fallen Comrades back a little bit.
Yeah, me too. I want that too. But after they kind of metagamed that in San Juan del Sur, I think it was.
San
I
Juan del
think
Sur
they kind
and
of
V
stopped.
metagaming it.
Oh yeah,
But that's it, folks.
yeah,
I've got a couple other ideas for some videos and podcasts me and Hyrule can do together, and maybe if he watches the traders, we can do a podcast on season one and few on season two.
yeah.
Because I got some thoughts on season two, man.
And I haven't seen it yet, so
But thanks for watching this 3-hour journey through Survivor
yeah,
45. Hopefully we can do
flew
some
by.
coverage on Survivor 46.
Yeah, hopefully. We can do that like episode by episode, maybe.
Yeah. But I hope you enjoyed your stay in the log cabin.
Me too.
See you later, folks.
Intros and outros are always hard.